The divine sword is invincible. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 976, On the Verge of Death. Yangzai Ocean, you have two Chaos King godheads. I don't believe that your chaos laws are more numerous and stronger than mine. The son of the buried god roared fiercely. His face was covered with beast-like magic patterns, and his whole body exploded with light. One chaos law after another flew out of his body, and soon, it spread all over the sky. As his chaos laws continued to fly out, the chaos key gushed and roared, turning into a sea of chaos. The world shook more and more violently, as if it could not bear the power of his chaos laws. When the chaos laws of the son of the buried god reached 5 million, everyone was shocked. 5 million. The chaos laws of the son of the buried god have indeed been cultivated to 5 million. The only one in the god realm. But the chaos laws of the son of the buried god continued to fly out, and soon, it reached 6 million, 7 million. When it reached 10 million, everyone was shocked. In the god realm, no one has ever been able to cultivate the law to 5 million, but the son of the buried god has cultivated it to 10 million. But this is not over yet. The chaos laws of the son of the buried god are still continuing, and finally stopped completely when it reached 11 million. 11 million chaos principles were spread all over the world, covering the entire Hanghuang city. The son of the buried god said fiercely, Yangzai Ocean, I have gone through thousands of hardships, and each of my godheads has cultivated 5.5 million chaos principles. I'm the first in the battle of the god realm. Die. At this point, he suddenly punched Yangzai Ocean with both fists. The end of chaos. As his fists blasted out, his two top-level chaos godheads, 11 million chaos principles spewed out a monstrous chaotic energy. The destructive force blasted towards Yangzai Ocean. The sky and the earth were extinguished, and everything was chaos wherever it passed, just like the end of the world. Zaoming, the master of the world, couldn't help but tighten his grip. The son of the buried god actually cultivated 11 million chaos principles, which was simply shocking. At this time, the combat power of the son of the buried god had reached an incredible level. It completely exceeded everyone's cognition of the 5th level of the divine emperor. Looking at the chaos doomsday that was blasting over, Yangzai Ocean's face was normal. You don't believe it? Sorry, my chaos law is really more and stronger than yours. At this point, he only activated one of the chaos godhead's laws. Suddenly, the Chaos King laws flew out like Optimus Prime, and soon, they reached 11 million. But it was not over yet, until 12.96 million roots stopped completely. 12.96 million Chaos King laws. An old ancestor of the God Eater clan took a breath of cold air, and felt that his teeth were aching badly. 12.96 million Chaos King laws flew out, directly blasting the Chaos laws that covered the sky of the son of the buried god. Yangzai Ocean's eyes were cold, and he swung his two swords. All the Chaos King laws ejected a tsunami-like Chaos Ki, and the power of the 15 sword domain swords was blessed by the Chaos King law, and even more terrifying sword Ki burst out. Under the gaze of everyone, Yangzai Ocean's Chaos Sword Ki collided with the opponent's Chaos Fist power. Instantly, it blasted through the opponent's chaotic fist force. The chaotic sword energy blasted towards the son of the buried god with a devastating force. The son of the buried god looked at the chaotic sword energy that was blasting towards him. His face changed drastically, and he roared in shock and anger. He transformed into a giant beast that supported the sky. It was the Teoti beast, one of the 4 evil beasts. He madly slapped Yangzai Ocean's chaotic sword energy. However, even if he transformed into the Teoti body, he could not resist Yangzai Ocean's chaotic sword energy, and was still blasted through by Yangzai Ocean's chaotic sword energy. The chaotic sword energy blasted into his Teoti giant claws. The son of the buried god screamed, flew backwards from midair, and fell heavily outside the ring. After falling outside the ring, the son of the buried god regained his human body again, with sword holes all over his body and blood dripping. After being blasted through the body by Yangzai Ocean's chaotic sword energy, even the son of the buried god, who had a divine body that defied the heavens, was on the verge of death. Everyone was shocked. The son of the buried god, who had cultivated 11 million chaos laws, was defeated. And he was on the verge of death. Everyone looked at Yang Ocean, who was standing on the stage, and they were shocked. Yang Ocean stood on the stage, with 2 Chaos King godheads and 12.96 million Chaos King laws above his head. What a shocking scene. The limit of the God Lord. After a long time, someone trembled. The gods who have cultivated 12.96 million laws are called the limit of the God Lord by the 10,000 realms. It means the strongest state of the God Lord. Dao Jugu Mo, Mingkang Mo Zun and others stared at Yang Ocean, but they were full of murderous intent. However, they also knew that it was difficult to take action at this moment, so they did not take action, but took the son of the buried god up and broke through the air and left. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief when they saw the group of living dead leaving Hang Huang City. As Dao Jugu Mo and others left, the army of living dead 100,000 miles away also retreated like a tide. In the end, Yang Ocean won the strongest battle in the God Realm War. When Yang Ocean walked down from the ring, everyone looked at Yang Ocean with complicated expressions. In the crowd, someone whispered, "I didn't expect that the son of the buried god cultivated 11 million laws, but still lost to Yang Ocean." Lin Zion of the Silver Sky Blood Demon clan couldn't help but sigh. Thinking of Yang Ocean's 12.96 million laws of the King of Chaos, Lin Zion, Deng Mao and others couldn't calm down. "It's just 12.96 million laws," the son of Chaos said. Lin Zion, Deng Mao and others were shocked. According to what the son of Chaos said, could the laws he cultivated be more than 12.96 million? More than 12.96 million, that would be absolutely terrifying. Many masters around heard the words of the son of Chaos. The Emperor Han Meng of the Emperor Palace was surprised and said, "This son of Chaos has more laws than Yang Ocean, right?" The Emperor Taehuang stared and said, "If so, Yang Ocean may not be able to win the first place in this battle of the gods domain." Everyone looked at the son of Chaos, wondering. Yang Ocean was already so amazing. If the son of Chaos was even stronger, how strong would he be? This battle of the gods domain is really a fight between dragons and tigers. A sect master couldn't help but sigh. Whether it was Yang Ocean, the son of buried god, or the son of Chaos, any one of them could have won the first place in the previous battle of Shyandao Mountain, but this time, the son of buried god couldn't even pass the battle of the gods domain. Soon, the 10th round of competitions in other arenas also ended one after another. Then, it was the 11th round, the 12th round, one round after another. Everyone was looking forward to the battle between Yang Ocean and the son of Chaos. But to everyone's disappointment, Yang Ocean and the son of Chaos never met. Finally, the top 100 were announced. Then the top 10 came. But until the top 10, Yang Ocean and the son of Chaos never met. Until all the disciples were eliminated, only Yang Ocean and the son of Chaos were left in the entire God's domain battle. The two did not need to draw lots, and came directly to the ring. Chapter 977. I'm just worried that the young master can't distinguish right from wrong. Seeing Yang Ocean and the son of Chaos standing on the ring, everyone held their breath, and stared at the two of them without blinking, fearing to miss any moment. In the hall, Zaoming also stared at the son of Chaos's evil. "I heard that the son of Chaos's evil has been cultivated to the realm of evil." Wu Yin, the founder of the Jingshan Sword sect, said. "The realm of evil." The giant ape ancestor Baliu, the black phoenix ancestor and others were all shocked. If so, the young master is afraid of danger. The black phoenix ancestor couldn't help but worry. How could everyone not know the horror of the eye of evil in the realm of evil? Hearing that the son of Chaos's eye of evil had reached the realm of evil, Zaoming's heart sank even more. The world was silent. Just when everyone was waiting for Yang Ocean and the son of Chaos to make a move, the son of Chaos did not look at Yang Ocean, but looked at the referee and said, "I admit defeat in this battle." What? Everyone was stunned and couldn't believe what they heard. Everyone was very surprised. They didn't expect the son of Chaos to admit defeat. Zaoming was also stunned. Even Yang Ocean frowned. Many people were saying that the eye of evil of the son of Chaos had been cultivated to the realm of evil, and the opponent's laws had exceeded 12.96 million. If that was the case, why would the opponent admit defeat? In fact, the Son of Chaos had his own plan. Although his eye of all evil had already gathered all evil in one eye, he had just cultivated to the realm of all evil not long ago, and was not stable. If he forced it to activate, although he could defeat Yang's Eye Ocean, he would also suffer the backlash of the power of evil. If he suffered the backlash of the power of evil, his injuries would not be healed in the Battle of Shyandao Mountain 10 years later, and it would be difficult for him to win the first place in the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. Therefore, in order to win the first place in the Battle of Shyandao Mountain, he chose to preserve his strength after weighing the pros and cons. When the Battle of Shyandao Mountain 10 years later was held, the realm of all evil of his eye of all evil would be completely stable. At that time, it would be easy for him to defeat Yang's Eye Ocean, and it would be a piece of cake to sweep all the disciples in the 4 regions. The Son of Chaos turned around and said to Yang's Eye Ocean, "Yang's Eye Ocean, don't think that, just because I admit defeat, you are really the number 1 in the god realm. My eye of all evil has gathered all evil in one glance. If I attack you, you will definitely lose." Yang's Eye Ocean heard this and did not comment. Really? The Son of Chaos saw Yang's Eye Ocean's non-committal look and said, "My realm of all evil is not stable yet. Although I can defeat you, I will also suffer the backlash of the power of evil." After hearing what the Son of Chaos said, everyone suddenly realized. The Son of Chaos said to Yang's Eye Ocean, "Wait for the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. I will fight you again. I hope you can break through the realm of the God King, otherwise, I'm afraid that you will not be able to resist even 1/10,000th of the power of my eye of evil." Can't even resist 1/10,000th of the power. Hearing this, Yang's Eye Ocean laughed and looked at the other party. "I hope your eye of evil will not disappoint me and not be unable to resist even 1/10,000th of my power." Hearing this, the Son of Chaos sneered, and the eye of evil flashed a heart-pounding light. In the end, Yang's Eye Ocean won the first place in this battle of the god's domain. Xiaoming personally gave Yang's Eye Ocean the reward for the first place in the god's domain. Seeing this result, everyone sighed. When Yang's Eye Ocean signed up for the battle of the god's domain, Yang's Eye Ocean, a god lord, became a joke in the eyes of all parties. Who would have thought that Yang's Eye Ocean, a god lord, would kill his way to the first place? After the Son of Chaos received the reward for the second place, he took the God Eater clan and the Silver Sky Blood Demon clan and left. Before Deng Mao left, he glanced at Yang's Eye Ocean, his eyes full of murderous intent. In the Battle of Zuankan Mountain, Yang's Eye Ocean not only killed a group of disciples of the God Shadow clan, but also killed his 2 sons. He will avenge this personally. The strong men from all sides also left the square one after another. Wei Sheng of Kaishan Academy did not leave immediately. He led everyone in Kaishan Academy to Yang's Eye Ocean and said, "Yang's Eye Ocean, our lord will arrive tomorrow. You must think it through and hand over the vast sea boat and the dragon music score." I said, "If you want the vast sea boat and the dragon music score, let the Lord of Kaishan come and get them." Yang's Eye Ocean said indifferently, "Yang's Eye Ocean, don't go too far." An ancient ancestor of Kaishan Academy could not help but said angrily, "The vast sea boat and the dragon music score originally belonged to our Kaishan Academy. I'm being polite to you by asking you to return them. Otherwise, I'll do it now." At this moment, a cold snort sounded, and the ancient ancestor of Kaishan Academy retreated several steps as if hit hard, his face pale. "So what?" The voice of the Lord of Heaven and Earth came from the depths of the void. The ancient ancestor of Kaishan Academy did not dare to say anything more. Seeing this, Wei Sheng could only lead everyone in Kaishan Academy to leave. After everyone from Kaishan Academy left, Yang's Eye Ocean also left the scene with the 7th princess, Han Feng and others, and returned to the divine palace of heaven and earth. As for the god-slaying king and his men, they returned to the ghost, witch and 4 demons mansion, and waited for Yang's Eye Ocean's orders. That night, the entire divine palace of heaven and earth celebrated to congratulate Yang's Eye Ocean for winning the first place in this battle of the divine realm. After 3 rounds of wine, Wu Yin, the founder of the Jingshan Sword sect, said, "I still say that the vast sea boat and the Cheyenne Lankin score belong to the Kaishan Academy. We should return the vast sea boat and the Cheyenne Lankin score to the Kaishan Academy. Please think twice, Lord and Junior Lord." Everyone put down their glasses, the hall became quiet, and everyone looked at Xiaoming and Yang's Eye Ocean. Baeliu, the ancestor of the giant ape, also nodded and said, "That's right. The young master can't let the heaven and earth divine mansion flow into a river of blood for his own selfish interests." Many ancestors and supreme elders heard Baeliu's blunt words, saying that Yangzai Ocean let the heaven and earth divine mansion flow into a river of blood for his own selfish interests. Their faces changed slightly, and they felt that Baeliu's words were a bit heavy. For personal gain, putting the heaven and earth divine mansion in danger is a serious crime. Isn't Baeliu's words saying that Yangzai Ocean is committing a serious crime? Hearing this, Yangzai Ocean sneered. How could he not know what Wu Yin and Baeliu were thinking? Although Niheng and Yufei were rescued from Zuankan Mountain by him, their limbs were broken. Although they were reattached, their combat effectiveness was greatly reduced, and they did not pass this battle in the divine realm. Wu Yin and Baeliu hated him in their hearts, thinking that he had harmed their disciples and caused them to fail to pass the battle in the divine realm. So now they are using the matter of Kashan Academy to target him. In fact, not only Wu Yin and Baeliu, but also many ancestors present also resented him in their hearts, resenting him for causing their disciples to have their limbs cut off, making it impossible for them to pass the battle in the divine realm. Since Bezu thinks that I caused the bloodshed in the divine realm for my own selfish interests, then Bezu can now remove my position as the young master. Yangzai Ocean said to Baeliu, the ancestor of the giant ape. Baeliu was startled, cleared his throat, and said, "Young master, you are too serious. I'm just worried that you will not be able to distinguish right from wrong tomorrow, which will lead to serious consequences." When he was about to continue, Yangzai Ocean interrupted him and said, "Don't worry about this, Bezu. I will know what to do tomorrow when the Lord of Creation arrives." Chapter 978. He wants to see what tricks Yangzai Ocean plays. Baeliu was interrupted by Yangzai Ocean and was very unhappy. He said, "Since the young master knows what to do, that's the best. Although the young master has unparalleled talent, if you are a person who can't distinguish right from wrong, if the heaven and earth divine mansion is handed over to you in the future, the heaven and earth divine mansion will probably be destroyed by you." This undoubtedly means that if Yangzai Ocean puts the heaven and earth divine mansion in danger tomorrow and can't distinguish right from wrong, then Yangzai Ocean is really not suitable to be the young master of the heaven and earth divine mansion. Zaoming heard this, his face sank, and said, "Ancestor Bei, it's too much." Wu Yin said, "Don't blame Brother Bei. Brother Bei is also thinking about the heaven and earth divine mansion." Zaoming shook his hand and said, "Okay, there is no need to discuss this matter anymore. Let's talk about it tomorrow when the Lord of Creation arrives." Baeliu and Wu Yin gave up. The banquet didn't last long and ended. Yangzai Ocean returned to his cave and continued to sit cross-legged on the middle grade Chaos Spirit Stone, swallowing the 4 divine fruits to practice. Although there are still 10 years before the Battle of Shyandao Mountain, 10 years will pass in the blink of an eye. He has to hurry up and cultivate the 5 divine borders to the 19th level. As long as the 5 divine borders break through the 19th level, he can pass the heavenly calamity and achieve the realm of the God King. As long as he achieves the realm of the God King, he will no longer have to suppress his realm, swallow the magic medicine, and break through all the way. The next day, the sky was dawning. Suddenly, a breath that overwhelmed the heavens and the world broke through the sky and arrived above the prehistoric city in the blink of an eye. Feeling this breath that overwhelmed the heavens and the world, the strong men from all sides of the prehistoric city were shocked. Lin Zion and Deng Mao, who were hiding in the dark of the prehistoric city, felt this breath, but their faces were overjoyed. The Lord of the Creation has finally arrived. Lin Zion sneered. After the battle of the gods domain ended yesterday, they did not leave, but hid in the dark of the prehistoric city, just to wait for the Lord of the Creation to arrive. Let's hope that Yangzai Ocean will never hand over the Ark of the Vast Sea and the Cheyenne Lankin score. Deng Mao's eyes were cold. Lin Zion smiled and said, "The Vast Sea boat is one of the 10 great spaceships in the God realm. If you want Yangzai Ocean to hand over such a treasure, wouldn't that be cutting off Yangzai Ocean's heart?" The two looked at each other and laughed. They had already imagined the battle between the Lord of Heaven and Earth and the Lord of Creation. Although the Lord of Heaven and Earth was able to suppress the Lord of Creation, he would also be injured. If he was injured, the Lord of Heaven and Earth would fight against the ancestor of the God Eater clan, and he would definitely die. At this time, Wei Sheng and others were all happy to welcome the Lord of Creation, sensing his aura. Lord. Wei Sheng and others bowed and saluted. What did Yang Xiaoshan say? The Lord of Creation said with a straight face. Yesterday, the battle in the God Realm ended, and we asked Yang Xiaoshan to think it over again and return the vast sea boat and the Cheyenne Lankin score, but he still refused to return them. The ancient ancestor stepped forward and said. The Lord of Creation's face darkened. We told him that the Lord will arrive today, but Yang Xiaoshan, relying on the Lord of Heaven and Earth and the Divine Palace behind him, was completely indifferent. Wei Sheng said this angrily. He simply ignored you, Lord of Heaven and Earth, and ignored Dark Asian Academy. The Lord of Cation looked in the direction of the Divine Palace and flew up into the air. Go to the Divine Palace. Wei Sheng and others hurriedly followed the Lord of Cation. Seeing the Lord of Cation leading everyone to the Divine Palace, Lin Zion sneered in the dark and then followed him secretly with Deng Mao and others. Most of the powerful people from the major sects who led their disciples to participate in the battle of the Divine Realm did not leave and followed them one after another, wanting to see how the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth would deal with this matter. Whether it is Acacian Academy or the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth, they are both one of the most powerful forces in the Divine Realm. If the two sides fight, it will definitely cause turmoil in the Divine Realm. Soon, the Lord of Creation came to the gate of the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth and said, ZHUMO is here to visit. Please come out and see me, Senior GUO. There is something that ZHUMO wants to ask clearly. Please explain it to me, Senior. Explain it to me clearly. The voice of the Lord of Creation spread to every corner of the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth. Anyone could hear that the Lord of Creation was angry. Obviously, in the eyes of the Lord of Creation, it was the Lord of Heaven and Earth who indulged Yang Xiaoshan. Otherwise, even if Yang Xiaoshan had 100 guts, he would not dare to take the Hanhei boat and Cheyenne Lankinpo of the Cation Academy for himself. Soon, a large group of strong men from the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth rose from the peaks and came to the gate of the mountain. However, one person was faster. The sky opened, and a person walked out of the sky. It was the Lord of Heaven and Earth. The Lord of Heaven and Earth walked down from the sky. Every step seemed to be on the pulse of Heaven and Earth. Every step made the Heaven and Earth shake. Not only was the entire space of the Divine Palace shaking, but even the Honghuang city in the distance was shaking. The Lord of the Open Heaven, who was angry just now, saw the Lord of Heaven and Earth appear and felt the boundless power of the Lord of Heaven and Earth and couldn't help but feel nervous. Wei Sheng and the masters of the Open Heaven Academy were even more nervous, and they didn't dare to look directly at the Lord of Heaven and Earth. As the Lord of Heaven and Earth continued to walk down from the sky, the earth began to sink. Lin Zion and Deng Mao, who were hiding in the dark, held their breath and didn't dare to move. What do you want to ask? After coming in front of the Lord of the Open Heaven, the Lord of Heaven and Earth spoke, and his voice shook the world. The Lord of the Open Heaven calmed down, looked directly at the Lord of Heaven and Earth, and said, the boat of the vast sea and the Cheyenne Lankin score are the things of my Open Heaven Academy. I want to know why my senior disciple Yang Xiaoshan has been occupying them, and refused to return them. The Lord of Heaven and Earth heard it and said, I remember that the vast sea palace of your Open Heaven Academy belonged to Master Han Hei back then. Why didn't you, the Open Heaven Academy, return the vast sea palace to Master Han Hei's disciples? The Lord of the Open Heaven choked. At first, the Han Hei palace was indeed found by their ancestor in the cave, left by their Han Hei master, and later moved back to Cation Academy. Later, when they learned that the Han Hei palace was acquired by Cation Academy, the Han Hei master's direct disciples came to ask for it, but were instead blasted by Cation Academy. Few people knew about this matter, but the Lord of Heaven and Earth knew it. The Lord of Cation stared at the Lord of Heaven and Earth, and his aura began to rise. So, Senior Guo is planning to protect Yang Xiaoshan, and not return the Han Hei boat and Cheyenne Lankinpo? Everyone was tense. At this moment, suddenly, a figure broke through the air. Yang Xiaoshan. The 9 saints behind Wei Sheng spoke. Everyone looked over, and saw that the person who came was Yang Xiaoshan. Yang Xiaoshan arrived at the scene, bowed to the Lord of Heaven and Earth, and then said to the Lord of Creation, "The vast sea boat and the dragon music score are with me, but before returning them, I would like to play a piece for you, and the seniors to appreciate. Seniors, please don't be in a hurry." The Lord of Creation snorted coldly. He wanted to see what tricks Yang Xiaoshan would play. Wei Sheng and others also looked at Yang Xiaoshan in confusion, not understanding what piece Yang Xiaoshan wanted to play at this time. Chapter 979 Spring is back, it's heaven on earth. Wu Yin and Bai Liu, who came out with a group of masters from the divine palace of heaven and earth, could not help but sneer inwardly when they heard Yang Xiaoshan playing a piece of music. In their opinion, Yang Xiaoshan was just using excuses to delay time. However, no matter how much Yang Xiaoshan used excuses to delay time, he was just using excuses to delay time. Under the gaze of the Lord of the Open Heaven, Wei Sheng and everyone else, Yang Xiaoshan took out an antique zither. When the zither was taken out, a dragon's might filled the heaven and earth. Other people saw this zither, but the Lord of the Open Heaven, Wei Sheng and the 9 saints and others were all shocked when they saw this dragon zither. This is. The Lord of the Open Heaven pointed at Yang Xiaoshan's dragon zither and spoke incoherently with excitement. He wanted to say something to Wei Sheng and everyone around him. The Holy Dragon Zither. Wei Sheng also shouted excitedly. The Holy Dragon Zither. The 9 saints and the masters of the Open Heaven Academy were all very excited. The Holy Dragon Zither was the Zither of Liangli, the ancestor of their Open Heaven Academy, and its significance was even more extraordinary than the Xianlang Zither score. An old ancestor of Kaishan Academy shouted excitedly, "It's our ancestors Xianlang Shenkin." Yang Xiaoshan not only stole our ancestors Han Hei's Han Xianlang Qin score, but also stole our ancestors Xianlang Shenkin. After saying that, he couldn't help but grab the Xianlang Shenkin in Yang Xiaoshan's hand with one claw. Yang Xiaoshan, return the Xianlang Shenkin to us quickly. No one expected that the old ancestor of Kaishan Academy would suddenly make a move, but just when he was about to grab the Xianlang Shenkin, suddenly, the eyes of the Lord of Kaishan turned red, and he slapped the old ancestor of Kaishan Academy directly. "Get out of here." The old ancestor of Kaishan Academy was slapped, and flew away by the Lord of Kaishan. He turned over countless somersaults in the air, and fell on a distant mountain. His whole face was swollen and almost exploded. Everyone was confused. Doesn't the Xianlang Shenkin belong to Kaishan Academy? The ancestor of Kaishan Academy tried to snatch it, but why did the Lord of Kaishan slap him away with a slap? Even the ancestors of Kaishan Academy were shocked. Yang Xiaoshan was not surprised by the Lord of Kaishan's actions, but stroked the Xianlang Shenkin in his hand, like he was stroking a beloved woman. When Yang Xiaoshan stroked the Xianlang Shenkin, the dragon body on the Xianlang Shenkin emitted a faint glow, and there was a faint sound of dragon roaring. The Xianlang Shenkin seemed to come alive. Seeing this scene, the Lord of Kaishan became more and more excited, and couldn't help but think of what his master told him when he left. "Mother, it is difficult for others to activate my Xianlang Shenkin. If one day this person can activate this kin, and play Spring Returns to the Earth, Heaven and Earth, this person will be the new owner of the Xianlang Shenkin in the future. The new owner of the Xianlang Shenkin." He remembered his master's instructions to him clearly. Yang Xiaoshan sat down cross-legged in midair, then placed the Xianlang Shenkin in front of him, and began to play it. Soon, the sounds of the piano began to flow out from the Xianlang Shenkin. As the sounds of the piano continued to flow out, everyone saw that the flowers, plants, and trees on the surrounding mountains began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye, and some bare mountains grew green patches after patches. Then, the rivers flowing around actually flew up from the earth. Not only the surrounding rivers flew up, but also the surrounding rocks, trees, grass and other objects began to fly into the air. After the rivers, rocks, trees, grass and other objects came to the air, they continued to condense and turned into pictures of human scenes. Moreover, these pictures of scenes were so vivid and so psychedelic. The Lord of Creation looked at the scene in front of him and could no longer suppress his excitement. His eyes turned red and he said, "Master, I finally saw it. Spring is back to the earth. Heaven and earth. Spring is back to the earth. Heaven and earth." Everyone was immersed in Yang Xiaoshan's piano music and the magical scene created by Yang Xiaoshan's piano music. Yang Ocean's piano music could actually make all things in the world grow. This was simply unimaginable. Until Yang Ocean stopped playing, everyone was still immersed in the world of piano music. The scenes of the human world, such as the mountains, rivers, flowers, and trees in the sky, still lingered for a long time. After a long time, everyone woke up. Originally, many people thought that it was an illusion, but when they saw the flowers, plants, and trees growing taller around them, they were all stunned. Spring is back, and it's heaven on earth. The Lord of the Open Heaven took a deep breath, came to Yang Ocean, and excitedly clasped his fists and said, "Disciple ZHUMO greets the Holy Lord of the Heavenly Dragon. Holy Lord of the Heavenly Dragon." Wei Sheng and everyone in the Open Heaven Academy trembled in their hearts. The teachings of the founder of the Open Heaven Academy, seeing the Holy Lord of the Heavenly Dragon is like seeing the founder. Wei Sheng came to Yang Ocean, his hands trembling violently, and his teeth chattering. Disciple Wei Sheng greets the Holy Lord of the Heavenly Dragon. The 9 saints and a group of ancestors and ancient ancestors of the Open Heaven Academy all came to Yang Ocean, and then saluted Yang Ocean. The ancestor who was beaten and flew away also stood in front of Yang Ocean, and his face swollen from being beaten was shaking violently. Wu Yin and Bailu looked at the Lord of the Open Heaven and the Masters of the Open Heaven Academy standing next to Yang Ocean, and they were also shocked. The Holy Lord of the Heavenly Dragon? Yang Ocean? Yang Ocean, who stole the Han He boat and the Cheyenne Lankin score, became the Holy Lord of the Heavenly Dragon. Lin Zion, Deng Mao and others who were hiding in the dark looked even uglier. The Lord of the Open Heaven and the Lord of the Heaven and Earth were supposed to fight, but it didn't happen. Yang Ocean even became the Holy Lord of the Heavenly Dragon. Yang Ocean put away the Cheyenne Lang Shenkin and stepped forward to help the Lord of the Open Heaven up. "Brother, there is no need to be polite. Senior brother." Hearing Yang Ocean's call, the Lord of the Open Heaven was so excited that his chin and beard trembled. "Junior brother, senior brother," almost just now. He almost slapped Yang Ocean when he saw him coming out just now. Thinking that if he slapped Yang Ocean, wouldn't he be dead now? Thinking of this, the Lord of the Open Heaven was very fortunate. "It's okay." Yang Ocean smiled to the Lord of Cation. "I stole Master's vast sea boat and Cheyenne Lankin score. It's normal for my senior brother and you to be angry." The Lord of Cation knew that Yang Ocean was speaking in a sarcastic way, and his old face flushed. He smiled and said, "It was my senior brother who was reckless." Wei Sheng and the other ancestors of Cation Academy all lowered their heads, not daring to look at Yang Ocean, like children who had done something wrong. The ancestor who wanted to snatch Yang Ocean's Cheyenne Lang Shenkin just now knelt down in front of Yang Ocean and said with tears in his eyes, "My disciple attacked the Holy Lord of Cheyenne Lang. Please punish me, the Holy Lord and the Lord." Yang Ocean asked the other party to get up. "We'll talk about this later." The old ancestor looked at the Lord of Cation timidly, and the Lord of Cation glared at him. "My junior brother asked you to get up. Why are you looking at me?" The old ancestor was so scared that he quickly slipped away. The Lord of Heaven and Earth laughed loudly and said to the Lord of Creation, "Little Mosey, it seems that we have washed away the Dragon King Temple due to the flood. From now on, the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth and the Academy of Creation will be one family." Chapter 980. I'm in a good mood today. Let's kill some flies. From now on, the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth and the Academy of Creation will be one family. Hearing the words of the Lord of Heaven and Earth, the Lord of Creation also laughed heartily. What Senior Guo said is right. From now on, we will be one family, and we will be indistinguishable from each other. The laughter of the Lord of Heaven and Earth and the Lord of Creation resounded over the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth. The various forces that followed were all shocked by this. The Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth and the Academy of Creation are both among the most powerful forces in the divine realm. If the two parties form an alliance, it will be enough to change the pattern of the divine realm. Who would have thought that the two major forces that were originally going to fight a bloody battle would eventually become one family? Lin Zion, Deng Mao and others, who were originally looking forward to a bloody battle between the Lord of Heaven and Earth and the Lord of Creation, saw this and their faces were as ugly as they could be. Damn it. Lin Zion couldn't help but vent his dissatisfaction with a word of damn it. But this word of damn it attracted the attention of the Lord of Heaven and Earth. The Lord of Heaven and Earth's eyes were like a chaotic weapon, and he instantly looked over to where Lin Xian, Deng Mao and others were hiding. Just this one glance made Lin Xian, Deng Mao and others feel as if their hearts were pierced by a sharp weapon of chaos, and their faces changed drastically. Let's go. Lin Xian, Deng Mao and others almost didn't think twice before fleeing. Just when Lin Xian and others were about to flee, the Lord of Heaven and Earth said, "Well, I'm in a good mood today, let's kill some flies." Kill flies when you're in a good mood? What's the reason? Just when everyone was stunned, the Lord of Heaven and Earth slapped Lin Xian, Deng Mao and others with a palm. Wherever the palm force passed, the space was squeezed and deformed, and the terrifying force blasted through the layers of space to Lin Xian, Deng Mao and dozens of others. Even if Lin Xian, Deng Mao and dozens of others activated the Divine Shadow Escape Talisman, it was useless. The terrifying force squeezed the space, and squeezed them directly from the depths of space. As the head of the Silver Sky Blood Demon clan and the head of the Divine Shadow clan, Lin Xian and Deng Mao were undoubtedly strong. But seeing the Lord of Heaven and Earth slapping and killing them with a palm, they were all terrified and desperate. At this time, they truly experienced the horror of the Lord of Heaven and Earth. The two of them were like this, not to mention the masters of the two clans who came with them. Lin Xian, Deng Mao and others attacked frantically and blasted out their strongest attacks, but the combined strength of dozens of them seemed so pale and powerless in front of the palm of the Lord of Heaven and Earth. Just when Lin Xian and Deng Mao thought they were going to die, suddenly, two figures broke through the air and both blasted out a powerful palm. One was a huge blood sea palm, and the other was a palm force condensed completely by shadows. The two major palm forces and the palm force of the Lord of Heaven and Earth collided together. There was a loud bang that shook the sky. The two figures were blasted back in midair at the same time. When everyone saw the appearance of the two figures clearly, they all gasped. The people who attacked were the Silver Sky Blood Demon Ancestor and the Divine Shadow Ancestor. The Silver Sky Blood Demon Ancestor was one of the 10 great ancestors, and the Divine Shadow Ancestor was not weaker than him. The two ancestors joined forces, but were still beaten back by the palm of the Lord of Heaven and Earth. The Silver Sky Blood Demon Ancestor and the Divine Shadow Ancestor were also shocked. However, they did not have time to suppress the surging blood and ki, and both came to Lin Xian and Deng Mao, and took Lin Xian, Deng Mao and others with them. Let's go. Seeing this, the Lord of Heaven and Earth snorted coldly and slapped out again. This palm was still a casual palm, but the palm power was undoubtedly much stronger than the previous one. The palm power once again passed through the layers of space and caught up with the Silver Sky Blood Demon Ancestor and the Divine Shadow Ancestor. The two shouted, supported their whole body of divine power, and slammed out with all their strength again. There was a loud noise that shook the sky. The two took Lin Xian and Deng Mao and flew backwards, and the other ancestors of the two clans were all blasted by the residual power of the palm power, and there was no place for resistance at all. The two ancestors of the Silver Sky Blood Demon took advantage of the opportunity to fly backwards, and fled with Lin Xian and Deng Mao, and disappeared in the sky in the blink of an eye. This scene deeply shocked the fragile hearts of the strong men from all sides. The two ancestors of the Silver Sky Blood Demon and the Divine Shadow took action, but only saved Lin Xian and Deng Mao, and the others were still slapped to death by the palm power of the Lord of Heaven and Earth. This is the strength of the Lord of Heaven and Earth. The battle between the Lord of Heaven and Earth and the God of Food Ancestor has been widely reported these days. Because the God of Food Ancestor practiced the world confusion magic, many people thought that the God of Food Ancestor would win. But now, after seeing the Lord of Heaven and Earth casually use his palm power, everyone's thoughts have changed. The Lord of Heaven and Earth looked at the four fleeing Silver Sky Blood Demon ancestors, snorted coldly, and did not chase them, and then entered the Heaven and Earth Divine Palace with the Lord of Creation and others. Watching the Lord of Heaven and Earth disappear, the Emperor of the Sword Kingdom, Beizifan, sighed, "You are worthy of being the number one in my god realm." Princess Bihan looked at Yang Ocean's figure. This time, she also passed the battle of the god realm, and won the top 10. However, when she entered the top 3, she still lost to the Son of Chaos. "Father, it seems that when the Lord and the God of Food Ancestor fight, I'm afraid he will win," Princess Bihan said. Beizifan said in a deep voice, "When the Lord of Heaven and Earth fights the God of Food, the Devil of Chaos will be born." Princess Bihan's face changed. She understood what her father meant. Even if the Lord of Heaven and Earth could defeat the God of Food, he would still be in danger of death. Father, is the devil of chaos so strong? Princess Behan couldn't help asking, doesn't your majesty have any hope of defeating him? Benizifan said in a deep voice, very strong. Back then, your majesty, the Lord of Destiny, and the founder of Cation Academy joined forces to defeat the devil of chaos. Therefore, when the devil of chaos is born, the Lord of Heaven and Earth has no hope of defeating him. Just like you, do you have any hope of defeating the son of chaos? Benizifan asked back. Princess Behan's heart sank. She had fought with the son of chaos yesterday, so of course she knew how terrifying he was. The son of chaos easily defeated her before he even used the eye of evil. When the Lord of Heaven and Earth and the God of Food fight, the Lord of Buried Gods may also appear. Benizifan expressed his real worries. A demon of chaos is already terrifying, and if there is another Lord of Buried Gods, what will happen? It is conceivable. The Lord of Buried Gods will definitely be bad for the Lord of Heaven and Earth. Hearing that the Lord of Buried Gods will also appear, Princess Behan's heart trembled. She said, now that the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth and the Cation Academy are allied, the Lord of Cation will definitely join forces with the Lord of Heaven and Earth. Benizifan shook his head and said, although the Lord of Cation has achieved the position of the Lord, he is still far behind his master. Therefore, even if the Lord of Cation helps the Lord of Heaven and Earth, it will be useless. Benizifan sighed. By then, the Divine Realm will be in real turmoil. Let's go back to the Demon Ancestor continent first. In these 10 years, we in the Sword Kingdom must prepare well. 10 years later, the Divine Realm will be in turmoil. By then, if the Sovereign of Heaven and Earth dies, and the Devil of Chaos and the Lord of Burying Gods are born, the Divine Realm will not only be in turmoil, but will probably enter a time of endless darkness. Chapter 981 Gurang and Han Chien Rang. There was constant laughter in the main hall of the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth. The Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth and the Cation Academy had put aside their past grievances, and the high-level officials of the two forces were toasting each other. Wu Yin and Bailu, on the other hand, sat there, their mouths as if filled with flies, without saying a word. The two looked at Yang Xiaoshan, who was sitting in the upper seat, and had the urge to crush something. The banquet lasted until late at night. Yang Xiaoshan returned to the cave house and continued to sit cross-legged on the Chaos Spirit Stone, swallowing the 4 divine fruits to practice. The Lord of Cation stayed in the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth for half a month. During this half month, he went to Yang Xiaoshan's cave house every day to sit for a while and talked with Yang Xiaoshan about Liangli, the founder of the Cation Academy, the Dragon Saintkin, the return of spring to the earth, and the Heaven and Earth. The Lord of Cation was quite moved when he learned that Yang Xiaoshan had obtained the cave inheritance of his master Liangli in the Dark Forest. Half a month later, the Lord of Cation left. When he left a 40 million year old divine medicine for Yang Xiaoshan, which was his personal collection. He also told Yang Xiaoshan that he could tell him and Cation Academy anything. Yang Xiaoshan accepted the 40 million year old divine medicine. After all, he was in urgent need of improving his strength. At the same time, he asked the Lord of Cation to help him find out about the Chaos Divine Fire. Although the Lord of Cation was surprised to hear that Yang Xiaoshan wanted to find out about the Chaos Divine Fire, he did not ask much and agreed, saying, "Don't worry, junior brother, I will let Cation Academy do its best to find out and tell you as soon as there is news." Then, with Yang Xiaoshan and the masters of the Divine Palace seeing him off, the Lord of Cation led the crowd away. After seeing off the Lord of Cation, the Lord of Xiandi did not return to his own cave, and then came to Yang Xiaoshan's cave with Xiaoming. The Lord of Xiandi also gave Yang Xiaoshan a 40 million year old divine medicine. "Master, you are about to fight with the God of Food Ancestor, this 40 million year old divine medicine." When Yang Xiaoshan was about to refuse, the Lord of Heaven and Earth shook his head and said, "This 40 million year old divine medicine has little effect on me. Besides, I don't need to rely on this 40 million year old divine medicine to defeat the God of Food Dragon. You and I are master and disciple, no need to be polite, accept it." Upon hearing this, Yang Xiaoshan accepted the 40 million year old divine medicine. "Thank you, master." Then, the Lord of Heaven and Earth, Xiaoming, talked with Yang Xiaoshan about the Battle of Xiandao Mountain 10 years later. Although you won the first place in the God Realm, it is still difficult to defeat Xiao Heifeng in the Chaos Realm. The Lord of Heaven and Earth said earnestly, you still need to work hard to practice in the next 10 years. With Yang Xiaoshan's current strength, he can defeat Xiao Heifeng 30,000 years ago, but that was Xiao Heifeng 30,000 years ago. With Xiao Heifeng's amazing talents of the two top-level Chaos Godheads, he will definitely grow to an amazing level after 30,000 years. According to Master and Senior Brother's speculation, if I want to defeat Xiao Heifeng, what realm do I need to break through to? Yang Xiaoshan asked. 30,000 years ago, Xiao Heifeng was at the peak of the late 10th level of God King. With his talent, I'm afraid he is now at the 7th or even 8th level of God Emperor. The Lord of Heaven and Earth thought for a while and said, the 7th level of God Emperor, or even the 8th level of God Emperor. Yang Xiaoshan's heart sank. The 7th level of God Emperor is an important watershed. Once you break through the 7th level of God Emperor, your strength will change dramatically, not to mention the 8th level of God Emperor. If Xiao Heifeng breaks through the 8th level of God Emperor, his strength will be far beyond that of the son of buried God. This is just our speculation. Xiaoming said, if Xiao Heifeng has had a great adventure in these years, I'm afraid he will be more than the 8th level of God Emperor. More than the 8th level of God Emperor. Yang Xiaoshan's eyes condensed. In addition to Xiao Heifeng, the eye of evil of the son of chaos is also extremely terrifying. You should also be careful, Xiaoming said with a serious face. Thinking of the various legends about the eye of evil, Yang Xiaoshan nodded. In addition, this time, extremely evil characters have appeared in the Hell Ghost domain and the Boundless Demon domain. Xiaoming said, there is a disciple of the Nether Ghost Gate in the Hell Ghost domain who is born with the 10,000 Ghosts prison body. 10,000 Ghosts prison body. Yang Xiaoshan was surprised. The 10,000 Ghosts prison body is as famous as the all-evil eyes of the Son of Chaos. It is the most terrifying special physique in the Hell Ghost domain. There is no other. The Hell Ghost domain has stood for countless years, and the 10,000 Ghosts prison body has only appeared once. The Lord of Hell at that time was the 10,000 Ghosts prison body. The Lord of Hell relied on the 10,000 Ghosts prison body to achieve the position of the Supreme Overlord of Hell. Yes, the 10,000 Ghosts prison body. Xiaoming said solemnly, this person is Gui Rang. He was originally a disciple of the Yan Gui clan. Later, he passed the assessment and joined the Nether Ghost Gate, awakening the 10,000 Ghosts prison body. He is now a disciple of the Nether Ghost Gate's ancestor. Under the full training of the Nether Ghost Gate's ancestor, the 10,000 Ghosts prison body has been cultivated to an astonishing level. I'm afraid it has already reached the 10 hells level. The 10,000 Ghosts prison body contains the 10 supreme hells. Every time a hell is awakened, its power becomes more terrifying. The 10 hells is the strongest level of the 10,000 Ghosts prison body. The 10 hells level. Yang Xiaoshan frowned. The supreme demon sect of the boundless demon realm has a disciple with an immortal demon body. Xiaoming said, this person is called Han Xianrang. His talent and combat power are not inferior to Gui Rang. Some people say that he has inherited the legacy of the great devil ancestor. Get the legacy of the great devil ancestor. Yang Xiaoshan was surprised. Yes, Xiaoming said. Afterwards, the Lord of Heaven and Earth and Xiaoming talked about some evil geniuses that appeared in the 4 domains. However, although the other geniuses were evil, they were not as good as Xiao Heifeng and his companions. An hour later, the Lord of Heaven and Earth and Xiaoming left. They told Yang Xiaoshan to practice with peace of mind and not to think about other things. After the Lord of Heaven and Earth left, Yang Xiaoshan planned to retreat. Now, he had to do his best to first cultivate the 5 divine bodies to the 19th level, and then overcome the heavenly tribulation, and achieve the realm of the God King. He must win the first place in this battle of Xiandao Mountain. He wanted to win the first place not only for the reward of the first place in Xiandao Mountain. Master Ding, is there any way to improve my master's strength in a short time? Yang Xiaoshan asked before retreating. It is difficult to improve the realm of the Lord in a short time. Master Ding shook his head and said, at least there is no such treasure in the God realm. Hearing this, Yang Xiaoshan could only give up the idea. In the following days, Yang Ocean practiced in the cave. In the past, he practiced by swallowing the 4 divine fruits at night and reading the books of the Chaos Demon Lord during the day, but now, he practiced by swallowing the 4 divine fruits at night and during the day. While Yang Ocean was swallowing the 4 divine fruits day and night to practice, Daojugumo brought the son of the buried god back to the depths of the buried god cliff. After Daojugumo's treatment along the way, the son of the buried god's life was saved, but he was still in a coma with serious injuries. Master, the young master was defeated by Yang Ocean and cannot pass the battle of the god's domain. Please punish me. Daojugumo knelt there. It doesn't matter. A majestic voice sounded from the depths of the buried god cliff. When the time comes, I will change his appearance and he will also be able to participate in the battle of Shyandao Mountain. This time he was defeated by Yang Ocean and was on the verge of death, which can activate the mysterious power of death in his body. He will be a blessing in disguise. His cultivation will soar within 10 years. Chapter 980 To break through to the God King. After the Lord of Buried God finished speaking, he slapped the body of the son of Buried God with a palm in the void. Suddenly, the son of Buried God's body was shaken by light, and the sword energy of the god of domain, that was originally in his body, was all slapped out. Then, the Lord of Buried God grasped the sword energy of Yang Ocean's god of domain in the void, and no matter how Yang Ocean's god of domain struggled, he could not break free. The Lord of Buried God began to study the sword energy of Yang Ocean's god of domain. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, 2 years had passed. After Yang Ocean's unremitting efforts and practice day and night, finally, his 5 great divine bodies all broke through to the 19th level. Finally all 19th level. Yang Ocean, who was tense all over, breathed a sigh of relief. However, he was not in a hurry to break through the realm of God King, but practiced for another month. After the 19th level of the 5 great divine bodies was completely stable, he came to the no man's land and began to break through the realm of God King. Yang Ocean urged his divine power to bombard the God King barrier and instantly blasted the God King barrier open. When Yang Ocean blasted open the barrier of the God King, the sky and the earth changed color. Above the sky, thunder condensed, and a terrifying sea of thunder swept across the sky and earth, covering the sky and earth that Yang Ocean could see. Boom. Almost instantly, the thunder bombarded. This thunder was more than 100 times stronger than the chaotic thunder that Yang Ocean had crossed before. The thunder plowed through the layers of time and space, carrying the power of the heavenly Dao, and bombarded Yang Ocean. Under the power of the heavenly Dao, everything in the world seemed to become an ant. Ants dare to resist the power of heaven? Looking at the thunder of the heavenly Dao, Yang Ocean did not hesitate, flew up, and punched directly, like an ant struggling against the power of the heavenly Dao. In the sky-shaking roar, the heavenly Dao thunder was blasted by Yang Ocean. At the moment when Yang Ocean blasted the first heavenly Dao thunder, the sky opened again, and the second heavenly Dao thunder bombarded. One after another, the heavenly Dao thunder bombarded continuously, making people dizzy. Yang Ocean's 5 divine bodies and 15 sword domains were activated at the same time. Finally, they even activated all the laws of chaos, and then they dispersed the last layer of heavenly tribulation thunder. Even so, when Yang Ocean dispersed the last layer of heavenly tribulation thunder, he was also bombarded into the depths of the ground by the last layer of heavenly tribulation thunder. Yang Ocean's whole body was cracked, and shocking cracks appeared one after another. Fortunately, his 5 divine bodies had already broken through the 19th layer. If it was the 18th layer, I'm afraid it would be blown up. Yang Ocean lay in the ground, motionless. Now, he couldn't move at all, and could only let the 5 divine bodies recover on their own. After the 5 divine bodies broke through the 19th layer, the recovery power increased greatly. With the recovery of the 5 divine bodies, the remaining heavenly tribulation thunder power in Yang Ocean's body was soon dispelled. The next day, the cracks on Yang Ocean's body began to recover. After Yang Ocean was able to move, he swallowed a mouthful of heavenly holy water, then slowly got up, sat cross-legged in the ground, and practiced several major exercises. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth rushed towards him. The aura of time, destiny, primordial, origin, and chaos permeated around Yangtze Ocean. In addition to the 5 powers, the aura of heaven gradually condensed. On him, the divine light of heaven became stronger and stronger. It was the divine body of heaven. After breaking through the realm of God King, he possessed the 6th divine body, the divine body of heaven. The divine body of heaven, the divine body that condensed the power of heaven. Seeing that Yangtze Ocean's divine body of heaven was finally completed, Master Ding was also moved and relieved. Yangtze Ocean's 5 heaven-defying divine bodies were already amazing for ages. Now how amazing will the 6 heaven-defying divine bodies be? If we only talk about the strength of the divine body, I'm afraid that no one in the world can compare with Yangtze Ocean at this time. Although there are people in the world who have 10 or even 11 divine bodies, those divine bodies are garbage compared with Yangtze Ocean's 6 heaven-defying divine bodies. After a few days, Yangtze Ocean stopped practicing. Yangtze Ocean stood up, loosened his muscles, activated his heavenly Dao divine body, and suddenly punched out. Suddenly, the power of heavenly Dao rolled and everything was destroyed wherever it passed. In front of the power of heavenly Dao, everything seemed so weak. When you cultivate your heavenly Dao divine body to the 14th level, you will be able to condense the god of heavenly Dao and trigger the heavenly Dao tribulation thunder. Uncle Ding said, then the power of your heavenly Dao divine body will truly be revealed. If you cultivate your heavenly Dao divine body to the 17th level, you will be able to control 2 heavenly Dao tribulation thunders at the same time. Yangtze Ocean nodded. Now, he has achieved the realm of God King, and next he can swallow the divine medicine to improve his strength. However, it is less than 8 years before the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. At his current cultivation speed, he can only refine 240 million year old divine medicines in more than 7 years. 240 million year old divine medicine should only allow him to break through to the 3rd level of God King. At the 3rd level of God King, he should only be in the top 3 in the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. It is still difficult to defeat Zhao Haifeng. Unless he breaks through the 4th level of God King, there is a 50% chance of winning. But how can he break through to the 4th level of God King in 7 years? Yangtze Ocean frowned. There was really no way, and then asked Uncle Ding. There is a big formation in the main hall of the Origin Palace. This big formation can speed up the flow of time. 2 years inside, 1 year outside. If you can open this big formation and practice in it, you will have the hope of breaking through to the 4th level of God King before the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. Uncle Ding pondered. Yangtze Ocean was surprised to hear that there was such a big formation in the Origin Palace. It can actually speed up the flow of time. Now, his Origin God body has also broken through the 19th level, and he can go to open the Origin Palace with Duobao Supreme. However, to open that big formation, you need to consume the Chaos Spirit Vein. If you open it for a year, you need a Chaos Spirit Vein. Uncle Ding said again. Yangtze Ocean was stunned. 1 Chaos Spirit Vein a year, then he practiced in it for 7 years. Wouldn't he need 7 Chaos Spirit Veins? Although he had obtained a lot of Chaos Spiritual Veins in these years, he only had 5 Chaos Spiritual Veins left after his cultivation. Did he have to ask his master for it again? Uncle Ding said, inside the Origin Dao Palace, there is a Chaos Hall with Chaos Spiritual Veins. You have Chaos Divine Body and Chaos Godhead, so you can open this Chaos Hall. Yangtze Ocean felt relieved, knowing that the Origin Dao Palace could help him break through the 4th level of the Divine King. Yangtze Ocean did not delay any longer, and returned to the cave residence. Then he told his senior brother Zhao Ming that he would go out to practice for a few years and come back after the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. Afterwards, Yangtze Ocean came to the residence of the 4 demons of ghosts, witches and demons, joined the God-slaying king, the red-haired old demon and the other 6 people, and quickly rushed to the headquarters of the Duobao Chamber of Commerce. Seeing Yangtze Ocean's anxious look, the God-slaying king and the other 6 people felt strange. Don't worry, Uncle Ding said. You are now at the 19th level of the Origin Divine Body. As long as you have the Origin Divine Pearl, you can completely open the Origin Dao Palace. You have already broken through the realm of the God King. You can try to comprehend the mysteries of life between heaven and earth. After breaking through the realm of the God King, one can comprehend the mysteries of all life between heaven and earth. Chapter 983 The Ultimate Mystery of Life. Comprehend the mysteries of life in heaven and earth. Yang Ocean nodded. The mysteries of life are from 1 to 10 levels, and above level 10 is super, and above super is supreme. There is also a final level above supreme, also known as the ultimate. Master Ding, is the mystery of the strongest life the ultimate? Yang Ocean asked. Yes, the mystery of the strongest life is the ultimate. Master Ding said. However, not everyone can comprehend the supreme mystery of life, let alone the ultimate mystery. It depends on the individual's comprehension ability and the strength of the flesh. Yang Ocean's comprehension ability is naturally needless to say. However, after comprehending the ultimate mystery of life, you must use your flesh to carry it, and integrate these mysteries of life. The stronger the flesh, the stronger the life mystery. If the flesh is not strong, it is impossible to carry the ultimate mystery of life. And Yang Ocean has 6 heaven-defying divine bodies, so he can naturally carry the ultimate mystery of life. However, although you have 6 heaven-defying divine bodies, it is still difficult to bear the ultimate mystery of 12,960,000 lives. Grandpa Ding said, if you want to bear the ultimate mystery of 12,960,000 lives, you must cultivate the 6 divine bodies to the 20th level. All of them must be 20 levels? Yang Ocean asked. Yes, all of them must be 20 levels. Grandpa Ding said with certainty. Yang Ocean sweated. He had cultivated the 5 divine bodies to the 19th level before, and it should not be very difficult to break through the 20th level, but now his heavenly Deo divine body has just been cultivated successfully, only the 1st level, and it will take a long time to cultivate to the 20th level. So, you have to find more heavenly Deo holy water. Grandpa Ding said. If you want to quickly improve the heavenly Deo divine body, you must persist in swallowing the heavenly Deo holy water to cultivate. Hearing Grandpa Ding say that he had to find more heavenly Deo holy water, Yang Ocean's scalp tightened. After entering the god's domain, all the way down, he was either on the road to find heavenly Deo holy water, or on the road to desperately for heavenly Deo holy water. However, there is only so much heavenly holy water in the entire god realm. Where can I find more heavenly holy water? I wonder if there is heavenly holy water in the Origin Deo Palace. Yang Ocean's heart moved. There should be quite a lot of heavenly holy water in the Origin Deo Palace. Uncle Ding said, if your flesh can carry 12.96 million ultimate mysteries, then when you break through the God Emperor realm, you will need to face the ultimate life divine tribulation. If you want to successfully survive the ultimate life divine tribulation, you must at least cultivate the 15 swords domains to the great success realm. Hearing this, Yang Ocean's scalp was not only tense, but also numb. He almost vomited blood to cultivate the 15 swords domains to the small success realm, and now he has to cultivate to the great success realm. Cultivating the 15 swords domains to the great success realm is many times more difficult than the small success realm. From the small success to the great success, at least 4 sword domains must be integrated. Where can he find so many sword domains to fuse? The path of cultivation is to fight for destiny and go against the will of heaven. If you want to be the strongest, you have to pay a price and go through all kinds of tribulations. Uncle Ding said, if you don't want to face the ultimate divine tribulation of life, that's fine. Then don't carry 12.96 million ultimate mysteries. Yang Ocean took a deep breath and said, do it. Do it. He has come all this way, and every time he didn't die. Since you want to cultivate, then cultivate to be the strongest. But Uncle Ding, if you can successfully survive the ultimate divine tribulation of life, then will you have the 7th divine body that defies the heavens? The ultimate divine body of life? Yang Ocean asked. Uncle Ding couldn't help but smile. If you successfully survive the ultimate divine tribulation of life, you can indeed have the 7th divine body that defies the heavens, the ultimate divine body of life. The ultimate divine body of life is known as the most terrifying divine body in the world in terms of recovery power. If you have the ultimate divine body of life, plus your eternal divine body, then you are the real invincible cockroach. At that moment, Yang Ocean came to the secret room of the spaceship, then sat down cross-legged, and began to close his eyes, to comprehend the mysteries of life in heaven and earth. As Yang Ocean entered a state of meditation, his consciousness covered the heaven and earth. The lives in the heaven and earth gradually changed. All kinds of light appeared in these lives, and these lights condensed into various powers. These powers finally condensed into something similar to the law, which is the mystery of life. The mystery of life and the law are two completely different powers. The primary mystery of life is white, the intermediate is yellow, the advanced is purple, the super is black, and the supreme is red. But the mystery of life, that is now floating towards Yangtze Ocean, is golden red. Red is transparent to gold, and gold is transparent to red. This is the ultimate mystery of life. Only the ultimate mystery of life is golden red. After this ultimate mystery of life floated towards Yangtze Ocean, it drilled into Yangtze Ocean's body from the surface of Yangtze Ocean's body, and merged into Yangtze Ocean's body. Soon, this ultimate mystery of life completely merged with Yangtze Ocean's flesh and blood, as if it was imprinted in Yangtze Ocean's flesh and blood, and it was natural, as if it was born. When the first ultimate mystery of life merged with his flesh and blood, Yangtze Ocean could clearly feel that his body had undergone some changes, whether it was strength, defense, or recovery power. They all became stronger. As Yangtze Ocean continued to comprehend, one golden red ultimate mystery after another continued to merge into his flesh and blood. It would take others a day or even longer to comprehend a mystery, but Yangtze Ocean could comprehend an ultimate mystery in a breath. When he arrived at the headquarters of Duobao Chamber of Commerce, he had already condensed 1 million ultimate mysteries. Since it is not necessary to cultivate the mystery of life to 1.2 million at one time, to reduce the power of the mystery of life, no matter how many times you practice, as long as you cultivate to 1.2 million, you will reduce the power of the mystery of life. So Yangtze Ocean stopped and comprehended the mystery of life later. Duobao Supreme and Duobao Supreme's daughter Chen Qiang were very surprised by Yangtze Ocean's arrival. Especially Chen Qiang, her beautiful eyes were full of joy. Duobao Supreme was very enthusiastic, and said with a smile, "Young master is now famous throughout the world, more famous than an old man like me. He has the two Chaos King godheads, and has cultivated to the limit of the God Lord. I have never admired anyone before. You are the first person I admire in my life." Hearing this, Yangtze Ocean clasped his fists and smiled. "Senior, you are too kind. I'm just a little better than an ordinary genius." Duobao Supreme touched his eyebrows and smiled. "If you are a little better than an ordinary genius, then all the geniuses in this world are dogshit." Chen Qiang couldn't help feeling a little embarrassed when she heard her father's golden words, and then said to Yangtze Ocean, "Young master, why are you here this time?" Yangtze Ocean said to Duobao Supreme, "Senior, my origin divine body has been cultivated to the 19th level. This time I came here to open the Origin Deo Palace with you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 984 Primitive Continent. Oh, you have cultivated your origin divine body to the 19th level. Duobao Supreme was somewhat surprised. The last time Yangtze Ocean came, his origin divine body was only the 17th level. How long has it been? And he has already reached the 19th level? When did it become so easy to cultivate the heaven-defying divine body? Yes, I just cultivated my origin divine body to the 19th level and rushed here. Yangtze Ocean said with a smile. Duobao Supreme said with a smile, "Okay, since your origin divine body has been cultivated to the 19th level, let's get ready and set off in an hour." "Okay, thank you senior," Yangtze Ocean said with a smile. Afterwards, Duobao Supreme summoned his men and asked them to prepare, and then chatted with Yangtze Ocean. While chatting with Yangtze Ocean, he couldn't help but take a closer look at the God-slaying king and the red-haired old demon behind Yangtze Ocean. "Master Xiaofu, are these your newly recruited men?" Duobao Supreme said with a smile. "Your men are so powerful that I feel uneasy just standing there." Yangtze Ocean said with a smile. "Senior, you are joking. You are so powerful. How can my men be your enemies?" Duobao Supreme is the #1 weapon refiner in the God realm, so his strength is naturally very strong. However, Yangtze Ocean's words were somewhat modest. Although Duobeo Supreme is powerful, the god-slaying king is the #1 sword god in the demon ancestor continent. How could he be weak? Duobeo Supreme said with a smile. It's hard to say. Then he said, but this time, when we go to the Origin Deo Palace, the journey is dangerous. Do you want to bring more men with you? Dangerous journey? When Yang Ocean was puzzled, Duobeo Supreme said, we will go to the primordial continent by then. The primordial continent is the northernmost continent in the god realm. Like the primordial continent, it is one of the oldest continents in the god realm. But the original continent is different from the prehistoric continent. The prehistoric continent gathers all the superpowers and is extremely prosperous, while the original continent is a barren land with few people. There are many terrifying creatures living there, and poisonous creatures are everywhere, which is extremely dangerous. Even the God Emperor dare not easily step into the original continent. If the God Emperor enters the original continent, it is a death sentence, not to mention those God Emperors and God Lords. Original continent. Yang Ocean was surprised. He didn't expect that the Origin Palace was in the original continent. Yes, the Origin Palace is in the original continent. Duobeo Supreme said, so the young master should bring more men. He glanced at the 6 people of the God-killing king. Yang Ocean smiled and said, no, these 6 seniors are enough. Duobeo Supreme was surprised and couldn't help but look at the 6 people of the God-killing king. However, he has reminded that it is Yang Ocean's personal business whether to bring more or not, and he is not in a position to interfere. Father, I want to go too. Duobeo's daughter Chen Qiang gritted her teeth and said to Duobeo Supreme. Duobeo Supreme frowned. The primitive continent is dangerous. What are you, a female emperor, going to do there? As the daughter of Duobeo Supreme, Chen Qiang's cultivation is not weak. She is already in the Divine Emperor realm and has reached the peak of the late 10th level of the Divine Emperor, which is one step away from the Divine Ancestor realm. However, even so, Duobeo Supreme still felt that it was very dangerous for his daughter to enter the primitive continent with her cultivation. I'm already at the peak of the late 10th level of the Divine Emperor, and with you and Uncle Wooking there, I will not be in danger. Chen Qiang said, I also want to go to the Origin Deo Palace to try my luck. Duobeo Supreme thought about it and finally agreed, but you have to stay close to me and Uncle Wooking when the time comes. Okay, father, don't worry, I will definitely stay close to you and Uncle Wooking and won't run around. Chen Qiang smiled happily after hearing her father's agreement. Duobeo Supreme saw his daughter's happy look and shook his head secretly. How could he not know what his daughter was thinking? An hour passed quickly. Yang Ocean and others set off for the primitive continent. Duobeo Supreme was originally going to take his own spaceship, but when he saw Yang Ocean take out the vast sea boat, he smiled and said, Master, your vast sea boat is faster. We will take your vast sea boat. Is that okay? Yang Ocean smiled and said, Senior, of course, no problem. So, Duobeo Supreme, Chen Qiang and others boarded Yang Ocean's vast sea boat. In order to save time, Yang Ocean used the middle grade Chaos Spirit Stone to drive the vast sea boat. Driven by the middle grade Chaos Spirit Stone, the vast sea boat turned into a stream of light and flew to the original continent at a high speed. Feeling the extreme speed of the vast sea boat, Duobeo Supreme said with emotion, the vast sea boat is worthy of being one of the top 10 spaceships in my god realm. Although the Duobeo spaceship in his hand is also one of the top 10 spaceships in the god realm, it is still a little worse than Yang Ocean's vast sea boat. Senior's Duobeo spaceship is not slow either. Yang Ocean said. Duobeo Supreme shook his hand and said, my Duobeo spaceship is faster than other spaceships, but it is still much slower than the Hanhei boat. Then he smiled at Yang Ocean and said, young master, you said last time that you would come to Duobeo Chamber of Commerce to learn chess and refining with me when you have time. The journey is long, otherwise, let's learn chess and refining. Chen Qiang also looked at Yang Ocean with beautiful eyes. Yang Ocean smiled and said, the Battle of Shyandao Mountain is imminent. I want to spend more time practicing. After the Battle of Shyandao Mountain is over, I will find you and learn chess and refining. What do you think? Okay, then let's learn after the Battle of Shyandao Mountain is over. Duobeo Supreme smiled. So Yang Xiaoshan clasped his fists and said, "Senior, Miss Chen, I'm going to practice first." After that, he turned and entered the secret room of the spaceship and continued to swallow the 4 divine fruits to practice. Duobeo Supreme saw his daughter staring at Yang Xiaoshan and said with a smile, "If I were a woman, I would be tempted by such a good man." Chen Qing heard her father's joke and said angrily, "Father, what are you talking about?" Duobeo Supreme laughed and turned into the secret room to study his chess and refining. He had no other hobbies in his life, only chess and refining. Duobeo Supreme brought a lot of people this time, a full 100 people, but the Hanhei boat was very large, with tens of thousands of rooms, which was enough for living. So, on the way, Yang Xiaoshan not only swallowed the divine fruit to practice, but also comprehended the mystery of life. It didn't take long before he cultivated 1,199,999 ultimate mysteries of life. But Yang Xiaoshan stopped, because cultivating to 1.2 million would trigger the power of the mystery of life to descend from the sky, and it was somewhat inconvenient for him to be on the spaceship at this time. Even though Yang Xiaoshan used the middle grade Chaos Spirit Stone to drive the spaceship, it took a month to reach the primitive continent. After arriving at the primitive continent, Duobeo Supreme took out the Origin Divine Pearl, and then sensed the location of the Origin Dao Palace, and flew to the depths of the primitive continent with Yang Xiaoshan and others. However, as Yang Xiaoshan flew to the depths of the primitive continent, he always felt uneasy, as if he was being stared at by a terrifying giant. However, when he unfolded his soul power, he did not feel anything unusual. Chapter 985 King of the Primitive Continent. Yang Xiaoshan couldn't help but ask Duobeo Supreme and Zacian King, but Duobeo Supreme and Zacian King shook their heads and said they didn't feel anything unusual. However, the deeper they flew into the primitive continent, the stronger Yang Xiaoshan's feeling became. He told Duobeo Supreme and Zacian King about his feeling. Duobeo Supreme and Zacian King were shocked and puzzled after hearing it. However, Duobeo Supreme, Zacian King and others searched the surrounding world and found nothing unusual. Could that legend be true? Zacian King suddenly said. Duobeo Supreme was startled, and then he understood the legend that Zacian King was talking about. Yang Xiaoshan saw that Zacian King and Duobeo Supreme mentioned that legend, and they both looked solemn, so he couldn't help but ask them what legend it was. Legend has it that there is a Chaos Abyss beast living on the primordial continent. The God-slaying king explained to Yang Xiaoshan, this Chaos Abyss beast is the mount of the Taoist priest of origin. This Chaos Abyss beast has reached an astonishing level of cultivation and has cultivated a Chaos level inner core. Yang Xiaoshan was surprised. Chaos level inner core. He knew how difficult it was to cultivate the Chaos level inner core that the God-slaying king was talking about. There were very few divine beasts that could cultivate Chaos level inner cores. Not to mention the divine realm, even in the 10,000 realms of heavens, I'm afraid there wouldn't be 3 of them. Yes, a Chaos level inner elixir. Duobeo Supreme nodded and said, it is said that the Lord of Destiny wanted to capture this Chaos Abyss beast, but he never succeeded and couldn't even find it. Some people say that it has merged with the entire primitive continent. If it doesn't want to show up, no one can find it at all. It is the king of billions of creatures in the primitive continent, and it is an invincible existence in the primitive continent. However, it is usually in a sleeping state and rarely wakes up. I heard that it will only wake up when something that interests it appears. Will it wake up when something that interests it appears? Yang Xiaoshan swallowed. Could it be that this guy has set his sights on him? Am I the thing that it is interested in? Is it because of his 6 heaven-defying divine bodies? Or is it because of his Chaos King Godhead? Sweat. Being targeted by an extremely powerful and terrifying beast is not a good thing. It may bite you at any time. Duobeo Supreme frowned when he thought of Yang Xiaoshan's Chaos King Godhead and God-defying body. He obviously thought that Yang Xiaoshan's Chaos King Godhead and God-defying body aroused the other party's interest. Everyone be careful and be alert. Duobeo Supreme said to his subordinates. After all, what they are facing is most likely the Chaos Abyss beast. The masters of Duobeo Chamber of Commerce should be alert. The God-slaying king also looked solemn when he learned that he might face the Chaos Abyss beast. This is an existence that even the Lord of Destiny can't do anything about. So, everyone flew forward carefully. But the further they flew, the stronger Yang Xiaoshen's sense of danger became. Yang Xiaoshen looked at the dark front. He always felt that the Chaos Abyss beast was waiting for him in front. The other party, could it be in the Origin Palace? It's no wonder that he thought so. After all, the closer he got to the Origin Palace, the stronger this feeling became. Yang Xiaoshen and his companions were attacked by numerous terrifying beasts and strange creatures on the way. These terrifying beasts and strange creatures were so powerful that Qin Qiying was terrified. On the way, it was basically the masters brought by Duobao Supreme who took action to deal with these beasts and creatures. Occasionally, the Ghost Witch 4 demons and the red-haired old demon would also take action. When the Ghost Witch 4 demons took action, the Sea of Magic was surging. Wherever the Sea of Magic passed, all these beasts and creatures were blown up. The red-haired old demon raised his hand and slapped the beasts and creatures into the ground with one palm. No matter how powerful they were, the strength of the Ghost Witch 4 demons and the red-haired old demon shocked Duobao Supreme and his masters. Duobao Supreme had overestimated the strength of the 6 people brought by Yang Xiaoshen, but now he found that the strength of these people was far beyond his guess. And the God-slaying king had not taken action. It seemed that those beasts and creatures were not strong enough for him to take action. Duobao Supreme said to Yang Xiaoshen with a smile, "The 6 subordinates brought by the young master are very powerful. I wonder where the young master recruited these masters?" Yang Xiaoshen said with a smile, "I met these seniors in the demon ancestor continent. They are willing to serve me for 1,000 years. I see." Duobao Supreme said with a smile. At this time, the God-slaying king said to Yang Xiaoshen, "As long as you don't abandon me, I'm willing to follow you forever." Back then, he only agreed to serve Yang Xiaoshen for 1,000 years, but these days he has decided to follow Yang Xiaoshen forever. "As long as you don't abandon me, we are willing to follow you forever." The red-haired old demon and the 4 ghost witch demons all shouted excitedly and clasped their fists. Yang Xiaoshen was startled and helped up the God-slaying king and several others and said with a smile, "It is my honor that several seniors are willing to follow me forever." Duobao Supreme looked at this scene, feeling a little emotional in his heart, and recalled some past events. Just as Yang Xiaoshen and his party were coming to the Origin Dao Palace, a large group of masters also poured into the original continent. This large group of masters are Dao Jugu Mo, Mingkang Mo Zun, Mo Yundi, Ikwashao Mo Zun and others. There are thousands of people, and each of them is a master. This time, in addition to Dao Jugu Mo, there is also the skinny hand who has chased Yang Xiaoshen several times. Dao Jugu Mo's eyes are cold, and he and Skinny Hand plowed away countless beasts and creatures along the way, chasing Yang Xiaoshen and others quickly. At our current speed, it will take half a day to reach the Origin Dao Palace. Duobao Supreme estimated and said to Yang Xiaoshen. Half a day? Yang Xiaoshen looked ahead and saw that the black fog in front was getting thicker. All creatures on the primitive continent are very large, even the weeds are taller than many ancient trees on other continents. From a distance in the dark sky, these weeds are like swords rising from the ground, and the weeds are covered with sharp thorns like blades. From the weeds that were as high as 100 meters, all kinds of colorful poisonous creatures and some creatures that Yang Xiaoshen had never seen kept popping out. These creatures, like fierce beasts, ghosts, and dead things, were howling fiercely. Just as Yang Xiaoshen and others continued to fly towards the Origin Palace, suddenly, the face of the God-slaying king changed, and he looked behind him. Then, Duobao Supreme red-haired old demon and others also looked behind them. What is this? The 4 ghost witch demons were also shocked. It's the dead heir. The living dead. It's the blade-severing bone demon. The face of the God-slaying king sank. Of course, he was familiar with the aura of this former opponent. When Yang Xiaoshen and Duobao Supreme heard that the person coming was the blade-severing bone demon, their faces sank. Yang Xiaoshen, let's hurry to the Origin Palace. Duobao Supreme said hurriedly. Everyone, join me in urging the vast sea boat with all your strength. Yang Xiaoshen said in a deep voice. Unexpectedly, the living dead actually caught up with him. Now he has little heavenly Dao holy water on him. I wonder if he can hold on to the Origin Palace. Chapter 986. Chaos Abyss Beast is enraged. At the beginning, in the Chaos Demon Lord's cave, Master Ding used 300 mouthfuls of Heavenly Deo Holy Water to kill Flying Blade Bone Demon, Dark Sky Demon Lord and others. However, he swallowed Heavenly Deo Holy Water to practice these days, and there were less than 300 mouthfuls of Heavenly Deo Holy Water on his body. At that moment, Yangzai Ocean used all his strength to drive the vast sea boat. The vast sea boat blasted away many waves of air and continuously blasted away many beasts and creatures. However, using the middle grade Chaos Spirit Stone to drive the vast sea boat was almost the maximum speed of the vast sea boat. Even if Yangzai Ocean and others tried their best to infuse divine power into the spaceship formation, the speed of the vast sea boat could not be increased much. Therefore, it didn't take long for Yangzai Ocean and others to see the rolling death energy behind them. The death energy behind them was like the sea, roaring, engulfing the world, and constantly approaching the vast sea boat. Yangzai Ocean turned his head in shock and saw that in the Dead Sea, there was a large group of living dead people, led by the Blade Bone Demon. In addition to the Blade Bone Demon, there was also the skinny hand that haunted him. Seeing that even the skinny hand had come this time, Yangzai Ocean's face darkened. The last time Master Ding killed a group of living dead, the skinny hand was not there. Now with the skinny hand, the power of Daojugu Mo and others has undoubtedly become much stronger. The skinny hand and Daojugu Mo are comparable to the 10 great ancestors. Such existence is not something that many armies of living dead can compare to. Later, Yangzai Ocean discovered that Daojugu Mo, Minkang Mo-zun and others were wrapped in an amazing storm. It was this amazing storm that made their speed soar, so that they could catch up with the vast sea boat so quickly. It's the ancient time and space talisman. Duobeo Supreme's face darkened. Daojugu Mo, Minkang Mo-zun and others used the ancient time and space talisman. The amazing storm was the power of the time and space talisman. The ancient time and space talisman has disappeared for many years, and they actually have so many ancient time and space talismans. Dua King Jiangzun, who was under Duobeo Supreme, said in a deep voice, "Everyone, prepare for a bloody battle." Duobeo Supreme said in a deep voice, looking at the thousands of Daoju Bone Demons approaching. Although the 100 people he brought this time were very strong, they were not enough to fight against the thousands of Daoju Bone Demons. Yangzai Ocean looked at the thousands of Daoju Bone Demons approaching, his eyes full of murderous and angry. Damn, these living dead were simply dead maggots that could not be killed. Wherever he went, the enemy would chase him. It was really annoying. He took out a handful of time charms. There were dozens of them. These time charms were studied by him from the books left by the Lord of Time. However, he was not strong enough, so the time charms he carved were far from comparable to the ancient time and space charms of Daoju Bone Demon. But no matter what, it can still speed up the Hanhei boat. Time and space charms? Duobeo Supreme saw Yangzai Ocean take out a handful of time and space charms and was surprised. "I made these time and space charms in my spare time." Yangzai Ocean said a little embarrassedly. The power cannot be compared with the ancient time and space charms. At this point, he activated one of the time charms. Suddenly, the time charm turned into a space storm, wrapping the vast sea boat, and the vast sea boat's speed increased by half a point. Hearing that Yangzai Ocean could refine the time and space charms, Duobeo Supreme was very surprised, but he was relieved when he thought of Yangzai Ocean's eternal divine body. Yangzai Ocean looked at Daojugu Mo and others behind him. Although the vast sea boat's speed increased by half a point, it still could not pull away from Daojugu Mo. Daojugu Mo and others were getting closer and closer. In a few minutes at most, the living dead will catch up. Seeing that Daojugu Mo and others were still approaching, everyone couldn't help but tighten their grip. Since the time and space charms refined by Yangzai Ocean were low-level time and space charms, they could only drive the vast sea boat for a maximum of 5 minutes, and the effect would decrease as time went on. Seeing that the speed of the vast sea boat slowed down again, Yangzai Ocean could not help but activate the second time talisman. Just as Yangzai Ocean activated the second time talisman, Daojugu Mo suddenly drew his sword and slashed at Yangzai Ocean. The boundless sword energy cut through the space and slashed towards Yangzai Ocean. The sword energy tore through the defensive light shield of the vast sea boat. Just as it was about to kill Yang Zai Ocean, Zhu Shen Wang snorted coldly, and the magic sword in his hand had already made a move. But suddenly, a sword light broke through the air. It cut open Daoju Guemo's boundless sword energy. Everyone was surprised. Duobao Supreme, who was about to take action, looked at Zhu Shen Wang in astonishment. Zhu Shen Wang. Daoju Guemo, who was chasing behind, stared at Zhu Shen Wang, and his eyes shot out a raging fighting spirit. He was the #1 sword in the Demon Ancestor continent, and Zhu Shen Wang was the #1 sword in the Demon Ancestor continent. The two were life and death enemies. When Daoju Guemo said that the masked man who had not taken action beside Yang Zai Ocean was the god-slaying king, everyone in the Duobao Chamber of Commerce was shocked. Kill. Daoju Guemo broke through the air, bursting out endless sword energy from his body, and slashed at the vast sea boat again. Skinny Hand, Nether Sky Demon Lord and others also attacked at the same time. Suddenly, the vast death energy shook the world, and bombarded the vast sea boat. One sword to kill the devil. The god-slaying king swung his sword, and the magic sword burst out with brilliant sword energy. Duobao Supreme, red-haired old demon and others also bombarded with all their strength. A loud noise shook the sky. Even though the god-slaying king and others attacked with all their strength, the vast sea boat was still like being hit by an endless demon mountain. It was violently frustrated and flew backwards. The power of the crowd bombarded and exploded, and the terrifying airwave swept across. The surrounding mountains, primitive forests, fierce beasts, and creatures were all blown away and turned directly into dust. Everything disappeared. The death energy was raging. Just when Daoju Guemo and others were about to attack again, suddenly, a strange beast roar sounded from the deepest part of the primitive continent. The sound was like thousands of thunders exploding, and the space of the primitive continent was shaking for countless miles. An infinite force, like the sea of the end of the world, flooded in. In front of this invincible force, Daoju Guemo and others were like ants. Then, the sky opened, and two huge blood-red suns appeared above the sky. Looking at these two huge blood-red suns, Yang Zai Ocean and others were shocked. These were not suns at all, but two blood-red eyes. What is this? Chaos Abyss Beast. Did their power just now alarm the Chaos Abyss Beast? No, it angered the Chaos Abyss Beast. Yang Zai Ocean could feel the boundless anger in the eyes of the Chaos Abyss Beast. They should have entered the domain of the Chaos Abyss Beast and started in the other's domain, which aroused the anger of the Chaos Abyss Beast. The huge blood-red eyes stared at Daoju Guemo, full of disgust and murderous intent. Retreat. Feeling the boundless power and killing intent of the Chaos Abyss Beast, Daoju Guemo's hollow eyes could not hide his fear, and he quickly retreated with Minkang Emozun and others. Seeing Daoju Guemo and others trying to escape, the Chaos Abyss Beast snorted coldly and launched the boundless power of the Chaos Abyss. Chapter 987 Origin Dao Palace. Just as Daoju Guemo and his companions were about to flee, the sky opened up, and endless chaos thunders fell. Daoju Guemo and his companions had never seen so many chaos thunders. Moreover, these thunders carried a dark force that made people's hearts palpitate. Chaos thunders covered all the space of Daoju Guemo and his companions. Daoju Guemo and his companions roared and used all their strength to build an amazing death barrier. Within the death barrier, death energy rolled and condensed into a number of death gods. But it was useless. Chaos thunders instantly blasted through the death barrier of Daoju Guemo and his companions. The endless death energy was all blown away. The violent chaos thunder submerged Daoju Guemo and his companions. The earth was lifted up. The sandstorm rolled and covered the sky. When the sand and dust dissipated, Daoju Guemo and the Skinny Hand were seen lying deep underground, their bodies in a state of collapse, while Minkang Emozun, Emo Yundi and others had all disappeared. Seeing this scene, everyone took a breath of cold air. The disappearance of the Dark Sky Demon Lord, the Mayan Emperor, and others, everyone knew what it meant. With one strike, the two existences of Daoju Guemo, who were comparable to the 10 great ancestors, were on the verge of death. And the Dark Sky Demon Lord, the Mayan Emperor, and dozens of existences second only to the 10 great ancestors all perished. Thousands of other existences comparable to the masters of a number of super sects also vanished. What a world-shaking power. Yang Xiaoshan had seen the scene of Ding Yigan killing Daoju Guemo and others, but compared to what he saw now, it was still far worse. The power of the Chaos Abyss Beast was far beyond his imagination. The whole body of Daoju Guemo and the skinny hand were in a state of collapse and struggled to fly. Seeing that Daoju Guemo was still trying to escape, a cold sound came from the deepest part of the original continent, and a huge dark claw stretched out from the void. This dark claw slapped down directly. The skinny hand of Daoju Guemo, who was originally trying to escape, was completely blasted, and like the dark sky demon lord and the Moyan emperor, it dissipated between heaven and earth. Moreover, the space artifacts of Daoju Guemo and others, and all the things on their bodies also dissipated. The claws of darkness retracted, and only the two blood-red sun-like eyes remained in the sky. The blood-red eyes stared at the people on the vast sea boat, and everyone felt a chill on their backs, and dared not move. Even Duobeo Supreme, who could not even give the face of the master, was very nervous. If the Chaos Abyss Beast was unhappy, it would also give them a claw, and they would all be finished. Even if Yang Xiaoshan had Ding Yi, he was very nervous at this moment when facing the stare of the Chaos Abyss Beast. However, after the Chaos Abyss Beast stared at the people on the vast sea boat for a while, it finally left, and the blood-red sun-like eyes disappeared into the depths of the sky. The breath and power that enveloped everyone, and made them unable to breathe also retreated like a tide. Seeing the Chaos Abyss Beast retreat, everyone relaxed and gasped. Perhaps shocked by the terrifying power of the Chaos Abyss Beast, for a while, everyone was silent. Duobeo Supreme glanced at the direction where the Chaos Abyss Beast retreated, hesitated for a moment, and asked Yang Xiaoshan, "Master, do we still need to move forward? The further they go, the more dangerous it is. Who knows when the Chaos Abyss Beast will be in a bad mood. If they go forward and anger the Chaos Abyss Beast, they will be crushed to pieces. Keep moving forward." Yang Xiaoshan took a deep breath and said. Just now, the Chaos Abyss Beast retreated and glanced at him. That glance was full of meaning. He said to Duobeo Supreme, "Senior, if the Chaos Abyss Beast wanted to attack, it would have attacked us just now. The other party should not be hostile to us." Duobeo Supreme recalled the shocking scene just now, hesitated for a moment, and nodded. "Okay, let's move forward." So, Yang Xiaoshan and others drove the spaceship to continue flying forward. I don't know if it was because of the appearance of the Chaos Abyss Beast, so on the way, Yang Xiaoshan and others did not encounter fierce beasts and creatures again. This actually saved Yang Xiaoshan and others a lot of trouble. However, Yang Xiaoshan still felt that he was being stared at by the Chaos Abyss Beast, and the closer he got to the Origin Palace, the stronger this feeling became. After passing through many mountains and plains, everyone came to a primeval forest. The Origin Palace is inside. Duobeo Supreme pointed to the primeval forest in front of them. Then, everyone entered the primeval forest. They came to a sea deep in the forest. There was nothing unusual about the sea, but when Duobeo Supreme asked Yang Xiaoshan to use the power of the 19th Origin Divine Body to activate the Origin Divine Pearl, suddenly, the Origin Divine Pearl burst out with many rays of light, and a towering palace appeared above the sea where the light passed. Origin Palace. The 4 words Origin Palace were written on the gate of the palace. The Origin Palace was finally found. Looking at the Origin Palace in front of him, Yang Xiaoshan couldn't help but think of the Hangmeng Palace. From the outside, the two palaces were somewhat similar. Duobeo Supreme and others looked at the Origin Palace and were also excited. Yang Xiaoshan did not hesitate and took the Origin God Pearl to the gate of the Origin Dao Palace, then put the Origin God Pearl into a round hole on the gate and activated the Origin God Body. Suddenly, the gate of the Dao Palace surged and a mysterious pattern appeared. This mysterious pattern was somewhat similar to the pattern that Yang Xiaoshan had encountered in the notes of the Chaos Demon Lord before. After this mysterious pattern emerged, the gate of the Dao Palace slowly opened, and the mysterious pattern disappeared. Yang Xiaoshan was puzzled. He always felt that this mysterious pattern was somehow related to the pattern of the Chaos Demon Lord. This mysterious pattern should be drawn by the Origin Taoist. Could it be that the Origin Taoist and the Chaos Demon Lord knew each other? In doubt, Yang Xiaoshan and others entered the Origin Dao Palace. because Duobao Supreme had told Yang Ocean before that, after entering the Origin Dao Palace, everyone would rely on their abilities and take what they needed. So after entering the Origin Dao Palace, Duobao Supreme led his men and separated from Yang Ocean temporarily. When Qin Qiying left, she said to Yang Ocean, "This Origin Palace has many restrictions. Master Xiaofu should be careful." "Okay." Yang Ocean said, "Miss Chen should be careful too." After Qin Qiying left, Yang Ocean led the God-slaying king and several others to fly to the Chaos Hall mentioned by Master Ding. He wanted to enter the time-flowing array in the main hall to practice, so he had to find enough chaos spiritual veins first. The space inside the Origin Palace was very large, like a big city, with many palaces. Yang Ocean found the Chaos Hall in the direction pointed by Master Ding. There was a chaos array at the gate of the Chaos Hall. Yang Ocean simultaneously activated the power of the Chaos Godhead in the Chaos God body and put his palm on it. Under the power of the Chaos Godhead in the Chaos God body, the gate of the Chaos Hall finally opened slowly. When the gate opened, suddenly, the surging chaos spiritual energy surged out from it like a wave. Yang Ocean was rushed back a step and looked inside with the God-slaying king and several others, and was stunned. Chapter 988. It's been 7 years. Inside the hall, there were chaotic spirit veins suspended in the air. There were as many as 10 of them. 10 low-grade chaotic spirit veins connected end to end, forming a chaotic formation, circling in the air inside the hall. Every time they circled, they caused waves of chaotic spirit energy. It was this amazing chaotic spirit energy wave that made Yang Ocean take a step back. Originally, Yang Ocean thought that it would be good to have a few chaotic spirit veins in this chaotic hall, but he didn't expect there would be 10 chaotic spirit veins. At this time, Uncle Ding said, "This is just the outer hall." The outer hall. That means there is also the inner hall. The outer hall has 10 low-grade chaotic spirit veins, so wouldn't the inner hall have middle-grade chaotic spirit veins? There are even high-grade chaotic spirit veins. Thinking of this, Yang Ocean's heart beat faster. Immediately, Yang Ocean came to the 10 low-grade chaotic spirit veins and began to collect these 10 low-grade chaotic spirit veins. The God-slaying king and his men also wanted to help Yang Ocean collect them, but they were all repelled by the forbidden power around the spirit veins. Obviously, these restrictions were set by the Taoist of origin. Only the power of chaos could break the restrictions and obtain these chaos spirit veins. After a while, Yang Ocean successfully collected these 10 low-grade chaos spirit veins. Then, he flew to the end of the outer hall and came to the door of the inner hall. However, when he wanted to push the door open, he couldn't push it at all. Even if he activated the Chaos Godhead and Chaos God body, he couldn't push the door of the inner hall open. Yang Ocean was dumbfounded. The power of the chaos restriction in this inner hall is much stronger. If you want to open it, you must at least break through to the God Emperor realm and the Chaos God body to the 20th level. Uncle Ding said at an inappropriate time. God Emperor realm and the Chaos God body 20th level. Yang Ocean's forehead was black. He was happy for nothing. With your current cultivation speed, if you have enough chaos spiritual veins, you will soon be able to break through the Divine Emperor realm. Master Ding said, "Then you can come back to open this chaos inner hall." Yang Ocean nodded, and that was all he could do. After coming out of the chaos hall, Yang Ocean and his companions went straight to the main hall of the Origin Taoist Palace. After arriving at the main hall, Yang Ocean activated the Origin Divine Body to open the main hall. In the main hall, there was a secret room. In the secret room, there were several notes left by the Origin Taoist. Apart from that, there was nothing else. In the center of the main hall was the formation that Master Ding had mentioned, which could speed up the flow of time. Yang Ocean took out a low-grade chaos spiritual vein and put it into the eye of the formation. Suddenly, the pattern of the formation glowed, and streams of time and light flowed out from the eye of the formation, filling the entire formation space. The flow of time in the entire formation space became different. So, Yang Ocean entered the formation and began to practice. Because of the defense of the Great Array, Yang Ocean did not need to be guarded during his cultivation, so he asked the 6 people of ZHU Shen Wang to go to the Origin Dao Palace to try their luck. There was no need to guard him here. When he came to the center of the great array, Yang Xiaoshan took out the 40-million-year-old black forest ginseng in the black box. He planned to refine 4 40-million-year-old divine medicines first, and if there was time, he would refine another 30-million-year-old one. Yang Xiaoshan swallowed the black forest ginseng immediately. The black forest ginseng turned into a violent torrent of medicinal power, bombarding all parts of Yang Xiaoshan's body. Yang Xiaoshan's whole body was actually growing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Although he expected the 40-million-year-old divine medicine to be amazing, the strength of the 40-million-year-old divine medicine was still beyond Yang Xiaoshan's imagination. Yang Xiaoshan quickly operated the 4 major techniques to continuously refine the medicinal power of the black forest ginseng. After breaking through the realm of God King, Yang Xiaoshan has been persistently swallowing several divine fruits to practice these days, but his cultivation is still slow. Now, as the medicinal power of the black forest ginseng is constantly transformed into divine power, he can clearly feel that his cultivation is increasing day by day. Even though Yang Xiaoshan has 2 Chaos King Godheads and 4 major techniques are running at the same time, it took him 3.5 years to completely refine the medicinal power of the black forest ginseng. After refining the black forest ginseng, he barely broke through to the 2nd level of God King. Seeing that he barely broke through the 2nd level of God King, after refining the black forest ginseng, Yang Xiaoshan frowned. A 40-million-year-old divine medicine only allowed him to break through a small realm, which is really unsatisfactory. If it were other God King masters, I'm afraid they could directly break through to the 4th or even 5th level of God King. The higher the realm, the more Yang Xiaoshan felt the terrifying energy required by the 2 Chaos King Godheads. If this continues, when he reaches the Divine Emperor realm, won't he need a 50-million-year-old divine medicine? However, there is number 50-million-year-old divine medicine in the divine realm. Yang Xiaoshan collected his mind, took out the 2nd 40-million-year-old divine medicine, and began to practice. The 2nd 40-million-year-old divine medicine was obtained from the 4 people of Huzu of the Silver Sky Blood Demon clan, after he killed them. The medicinal power of this divine medicine is weaker than the black forest ginseng. Therefore, Yang Xiaoshan refined it completely in less than 3.5 years. However, after refining the 2nd 40-million-year-old divine medicine, he broke through to the peak of the 2nd late stage of the God King, and did not even break through the 3rd stage of the God King. Yang Xiaoshan continued to refine the 40-million-year-old divine medicine given to him by the Lord of the Open Heaven. After refining it, he finally refined the one given to him by the Lord of the Heaven and Earth. Fortunately, the 2 divine medicines given to him by the Lord of the Open Heaven and the Lord of the Heaven and Earth were quite powerful, much better than the one given to him by the 4 people of Huzu. Yang Xiaoshan's strength improved by leaps and bounds, and he broke through to the peak of the 4th late stage of the God King. At this time, he had been inside the formation for 14 years, and outside the formation for 7 years. There was still half a year left before the Battle of Shenandoah Mountain. Therefore, Yang Xiaoshan could only stop. After all, he had to rush back to the prehistoric continent, and then meet up with his master and others, to rush to Shenandoah Mountain. Shenandoah Mountain is not far away, and it is necessary to rush there 3 or 4 months in advance. Yang Xiaoshan walked out of the formation. Seeing Yang Xiaoshan coming out, Zhashan Wang and his men came to greet him. During the years that Yang Xiaoshan practiced, Zhashan Wang and his men also visited the Origin Dao Palace, and found a lot of good things. From Zhashan Wang and his men, Yang Xiaoshan learned that Duobao Supreme, Chen Qiying and others had left a few years ago. After all, Duobao Chamber of Commerce still had a lot of things to deal with, and they could not stay in the Origin Dao Palace for a long time. Miss Chen said that when the Battle of Shenandoah Mountain comes, she and Lord Duobao will go to Shenandoah Mountain to help you. Zhashan Wang smiled at Yang Xiaoshan. The red-haired old demon said with a smile. Miss Chen wanted to wait for the young master to come out, but was pulled away by Lord Duobao. This Origin Dao Palace has a lot of treasures, but there are several palaces that we can't open. Only the young master's Origin God Body and Chaos God Body can open them. The leader of the 4 ghost witches said. Yang Xiaoshan's heart moved when he heard it, and he asked a few people to take him there. When he came to one of the palaces, Yang Xiaoshan looked at the large array of restrictions on the palace and couldn't help but activate the power of the origin god body. When he pushed open the door, he saw that the palace was full of origin god fruits. He had obtained more than 1,300 origin god fruits in the Chaos Demon Lord's cave before, and there were more in front of him. Chapter 989. The Kingdom of Swords is over. There were more than 2,000 origin god fruits in front of him, almost twice as many as the Chaos Demon Lord's cave. Originally, Yang Xiaoshan had almost used up all the origin god fruits in his cultivation these days, and now he had more than 2,000 more, enough for him to practice for a few years. However, these more than 2,000 origin god fruits were not enough to support his origin god body to practice to the 19th level, so he had to go to the chaos domain to find the origin god tree. Yang Xiaoshan took away all the more than 2,000 origin god fruits. In addition to the origin god fruits, there were many other god fruits, so Yang Xiaoshan took them away with the god slaying king and several others. After coming out of this palace, Yang Xiaoshan went to several other palaces with the god slaying king. However, to Yang Xiaoshan's disappointment, he searched through the Origin Dao Palace and only found more than 200 bottles of Heavenly Dao Holy Water. If he had more than 200 bottles of Heavenly Dao Holy Water, he would only have more than 100 bottles if he gave half of them to Lord Ding for recovery. Now, his golden flame dark dragon martial soul is about to transform to the 16th level, and his Heavenly Dao divine body is only the 1st level, and he urgently needs Heavenly Dao Holy Water for cultivation, but this Heavenly Dao Holy Water is not enough. Moreover, he has to keep some in case Master Ding needs it urgently. After looking through the Origin Dao Palace, Yang Xiaoshan left the Origin Dao Palace. Now, he has to rush back to the Heaven and Earth Divine Palace. If he doesn't go back, he may miss the Battle of Heavenly Dao Mountain. Over the years, he has gone through all kinds of difficulties just for the Battle of Heavenly Dao Mountain. Heavenly Dao Mountain is about to be born, so he naturally can't miss it. After leaving the Origin Dao Palace, Yang Xiaoshan and Zhu Shenwan drove the vast sea boat at a high speed. Over the years, the feeling of being stared at by the Chaos Abyss Beast has never disappeared. Even if Yang Xiaoshan is practicing in the main hall, the Chaos Abyss Beast is still staring at him. However, knowing that the Chaos Abyss Beast has no hostility, Yang Xiaoshan just let it go. On the vast sea boat spaceship, Yang Xiaoshan sat cross-legged on the Chaos Spirit Stone and continued to swallow the divine fruit for cultivation. On the way, Yang Xiaoshan also comprehended the mysteries of life. When he returned to the prehistoric continent, the mysteries of life in his body had reached 2 million. Since the mysteries of life reached 1.2 million, it could trigger the power of the mysteries of life from the sky, so Yang Xiaoshan absorbed the rain of the mysteries of life once. What surprised Yang Xiaoshan was that the rain of the mysteries of life was really helpful to his divine body. The other 5 divine bodies were already at the 19th level, and the effect was not great, but his divine body of the Heavenly Dao, with the help of the rain of the mysteries of life, broke through one after another and directly broke through to the 3rd level. In addition to practicing and comprehending the mysteries of life, Yang Xiaoshan was also studying the time flow acceleration formation in the main hall of the Origin Taoist Palace. However, he tried many times and still could not arrange it. Seeing this, Master Ding said, if you want to arrange the time flow acceleration formation, you must have at least the same cultivation as the Origin Taoist. Hearing this, Yang Xiaoshan could only give up temporarily. The Origin Taoist, the Hangmeng Taoist and the Chaos Demon Lord were all strong men of the same realm. It was simply impossible for him to cultivate to that realm in a short period of time. I don't know how many years it will take me to reach that level. The Chaos Lord was born in the chaos and has practiced for countless years. His cultivation is unpredictable. If you want to catch up with them, it will take at least 100,000 years. Said Master Ding. 100,000 years. Yang Xiaoshan nodded and then said, is there any way to move the main hall of the Origin Palace? If he carried the time flow acceleration formation of the main hall of the Origin Palace with him, he would be able to practice much faster. Wait until you have cultivated your origin body to the 21st level before trying again. Said Master Ding. 21st level? If so, he would have to work hard to cultivate his origin body to the 21st level. Yang Zai Ocean continued to rush back to Honghuang City. However, on the way, he heard shocking news. The Lord of Burial Gods was born. He led all the zombies out of the Burial Gods cliff, and wherever he passed, there was a sea of blood. After the Lord of Burial Gods was born, he directly descended on the Imperial Palace of the Sword Kingdom, and had a shocking battle with the ancestor of the Sword Kingdom. But not long after, news came out that the founder of the Sword Nation had died. The founder of the Sword Nation was one of the 10 founders of the Divine Realm. He was directly decapitated by the Lord of the Buried Gods, and his heart was crushed, and he was finally torn into pieces. Now even the God Eaters and the Silver Sky Blood Demons dare not stand up to him. The entire Demon Ancestor continent is shrouded in endless darkness and terror. Upon hearing the news, Yang Zai Ocean and the God Slayer King were all shocked. How could the Lord of the Buried Gods suddenly appear? Could it be because of Daojugumo and the others? The red-haired old demon was dry-mouthed. However, it is really possible. Daojugumo, Minkang Emozun, and Emo Yundi were killed for thousands of people. I'm afraid that they may have angered the Lord of the Buried Gods, so the Lord of the Buried Gods would appear early, and Yang Zai Ocean had a hunch that the other party might come to him this time. Although he didn't know why he killed the founder of the Sword Nation first, the other party's ultimate goal was him. Maybe they covet his several great heaven-defying divine bodies, or maybe they covet his godhood of the King of Chaos. Of course, part of the reason is that Daojugumo and others died because of him, so they want to kill him as soon as possible. Thinking of the horror of the Lord of Buried Gods, Yang Zai Ocean's heart sank. The Lord of Buried Gods is not comparable to Daojugumo and others. As soon as Yang Zai Ocean returned to the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth, he went to see his master, the Lord of Heaven and Earth, and his senior brother Zaoming. When the two saw Yang Zai Ocean return safely, the stones in their hearts fell. Master, what is the current situation of the Sword Country? Yang Zai Ocean asked. The Lord of Heaven and Earth shook his head. The ancestors of the Sword Country and the emperors all died in battle, and almost all the sword masters of the Sword Pavilion died. Later, it was the Sword Clan behind the Sword Country who took action to save Princess Bihan. The Sword Country is over. Zaoming also sighed. Who would have thought that the Sword Country, which even the Silver Sky Blood Demon Clan dared not provoke, would be destroyed so quickly? Now that the Lord of Buried Gods has come to the world, the people of the God Realm are uneasy, and even the people of the Primordial Continent are in panic. Some people say that the Lord of Buried Gods will come to the Primordial Continent. Zaoming said again. Come to the Primordial Continent. Yang Zai Ocean's heart jumped. Many people said that he would come to the Duobao Chamber of Commerce. Zaoming said, now the entire Duobao Chamber of Commerce is facing a great enemy. The Supreme Duobao has recruited countless masters and used the favors that he had not used before, inviting many ancient ancestors who had never appeared in the world. The Lord of Buried Gods wants to attack the Duobao Chamber of Commerce? Isn't the Supreme Duobao the Origin Dao Palace that he went to with him? It seems that the Lord of Buried Gods has also taken out his anger on the deaths of Daojugumo and others on the Supreme Duobao and others. If the Lord of Buried Gods attacks the Duobao Chamber of Commerce, then the next one should be himself. However, what is coming will eventually come. At present, the most important thing is the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. Half a day later, Yang Zai Ocean came out of his master's cave and returned to his own cave to continue practicing. He is now at the peak of the late 4th level of the God King. If he continues to swallow several divine fruits to practice, he will be able to break through to the 5th level of the God King before the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. Chapter 990 Great Dao Artifact. On the 3rd day after Yang Zai Ocean came back, everyone in the Heaven and Earth Divine Mansion set out for Shyandao Mountain. During these 3 days, Yang Zai Ocean not only cultivated several major divine bodies, but also comprehended the mysteries of life. During this period, Hongfeng, the 7th Princess Huangyan, and Dongfang Ao came, but they all knew that the Battle of Shyandao Mountain was imminent and Yang Zai Ocean needed to practice, so they sat for a while and then left. The Battle of Shyandao Mountain was a major event in the Divine Realm, and with Yang Zai Ocean's participation, the Lord of Heaven and Earth personally led everyone there. However, the Heaven and Earth Divine Mansion needed someone to take charge, so Zaoming stayed and took charge of the Heaven and Earth Divine Mansion. Because the Lord of the Buried Gods caused chaos in the divine realm, the Lord of Heaven and Earth did not bring many people this time, plus the dozen disciples of Yangtze Ocean who participated in the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. There were only 300 people in total. The three of them took the spaceship of the Heaven and Earth Divine Mansion to Shyandao Mountain at a high speed. On the way, Yangtze Ocean was eager to break through the 5th level of the Divine King, and he practiced in seclusion in the secret room of the spaceship. There was nothing wrong along the way. Just as Yangtze Ocean and others were heading to Shyandao Mountain, suddenly, an endless sea of death was surging towards the prehistoric continent at an alarming speed. The prehistoric continent is one of the largest continents in the divine domain, but this endless sea of death covered the sky and the sun, submerging one starfield after another, and was not much smaller than the prehistoric continent. In the center of the Dead Sea, stood a huge dead gray figure. This figure was surrounded by death energy, and its appearance could not be seen clearly. The boundless breath of death was earth-shaking, like an invisible dead mountain, constantly bombarding the prehistoric continent. Some empires and city strongmen on the edge of the prehistoric continent all sensed this terrifying breath of death, and were all terrified. One after another, figures kept flying out of the city, looking at the sea of death that kept surging in the starry sky in fear. It's the living dead. The living dead of the burial god cliff. Quickly retreat, the living dead are coming. Some empires on the edge of the prehistoric continent were in a panic, and countless sect strongmen flew out of the city and fled in fear. Help the divine palace of heaven and earth and Cation Academy. Quick, all the troops, listen to my orders and fight the enemy. Kill. Just as some powerful sects fled, many imperial emperors ordered their troops to resist. Countless imperial armies continued to pour out, but these imperial armies were soon submerged by the Dead Sea. Therefore, when Yangtze Ocean and others were halfway to Shyandao Mountain, they learned about the arrival of the Lord of Burial Gods on the prehistoric continent. When Yangtze Ocean learned that the Lord of Burial Gods had arrived on the continent, the army of the living dead was constantly devouring the armies of the great empires on the prehistoric continent, and was advancing step by step towards the divine palace of heaven and earth and Cation Academy. His heart sank. The Lord of Heaven and Earth also sank when he heard the news. Master, how about we go back? Yangtze Ocean said. The Lord of Heaven and Earth shook his head. If we go back, we will not be able to catch up with the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. Now they are halfway there, and if they turn back to the prehistoric continent, they will definitely not be able to catch up with the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. Don't worry, although the Lord of Buried Gods and the army of the living dead are strong, they have to face the entire prehistoric continent, which is not the demon ancestor continent. The Lord of Heaven and Earth said to Yangtze Ocean, they can't break through the defense of the prehistoric continent. Sure enough, a few days later, the news came again that the army of the living dead could not break through the defense of the prehistoric continent. Under the joint resistance of the divine palace of heaven and earth, Cation Academy, the ancient divine kingdom, the Dongfang family, the Duobao Chamber of Commerce and other forces, the army of the living dead was gradually driven out of the prehistoric continent. However, although the army of the living dead was driven out of the prehistoric continent, it did not evacuate, but always besieged the prehistoric continent. As for the Lord of Buried Gods, he hid in the depths of the Dead Sea, and did not make a move. Knowing that the army of the living dead could not break through the defense of the prehistoric continent, Yangtze Ocean felt relieved and worked hard to practice in the spaceship. In the blink of an eye, several months passed. Shyandao Mountain was finally in sight. Yangtze Ocean and a group of masters from the divine palace of heaven and earth stood at the bow of the spaceship. They saw a huge and indescribable mountain at the end of the starfield in front of them. The mountain was suspended at the end of the starfield, and it was unknown how many feet high and as wide as a continent. The suspended mountain was modeled after the Shyandao Mountain, but compared with the Shyandao Mountain in front of them, it was just a small hill. Even though they were very far apart, the visual impact of the Shyandao Mountain on everyone was still extremely shocking. The boundless power of the heavenly Dao permeated the starfield. A series of violent air currents continued to spurt out from the top of the Shyandao Mountain, and the air currents shook the surrounding starfields. These violent air currents were like waterfalls that fell down with a bang, and the power contained was extremely terrifying. This is the earth energy gushing out from the ground of Shyandao Mountain. The Lord of Heaven and Earth said to Yang Zai Ocean, "These earth energy contain amazing fire energy. The power of these fire energy is better than many divine fires, and many supreme beings cannot resist it. Even the supreme strongman cannot resist it." Yang Zai Ocean and the disciples who participated in the Battle of Shyandao Mountain were all shocked. The Supreme is the strongest person, second only to the Lord. We have to pass through these airflow layers to enter Shyandao Mountain, so everyone should be careful later. The Lord of Heaven and Earth reminded everyone. As they got closer to Shyandao Mountain, they felt the size of Shyandao Mountain more and more. The spaceship of Shyandi Shenfu that they were riding was already very large, but in front of Shyandao Mountain, it was like a larger stone. And as they got closer to Shyandao Mountain, they felt the horror of the gushing violent airflow more and more. The violent airflow bombarded the surrounding starfields, roaring endlessly, and the sound was so loud that it seemed to be constantly exploding in their ears. It was still tens of thousands of miles away from Shyandao Mountain, and it was already like this. When it was 20,000 miles away from Shyandao Mountain, the roar of the violent airflow was even more like ringing in their minds. Some weak disciples were pale. This was still with the defense of the large formation of the spaceship. When they were 10,000 miles away from Shyandao Mountain, they finally arrived at the violent airflow layer. The masters of the divine palace of heaven and earth all supported their whole bodies with their divine powers to protect the entire spaceship. Even so, the spaceship was shaken by the violent airflow, as if it was hit by a huge rock of the heavenly Dao. Inside the spaceship, everyone was shaking and bumping. Due to the bombardment of the violent airflow, the speed of the spaceship was greatly reduced. After the spaceship continued to fly forward for 1,000 miles, it finally passed through the airflow layer, and the feeling of annihilation began to disappear. Strangely, after passing through the violent airflow layer, the roaring sound suddenly disappeared. The Shyandao Mountain in front of him had a faint power of the heavenly Dao flowing on its surface. Yang Zai Ocean stared at the Shyandao Mountain. In his eyes, the Shyandao Mountain exuded an indescribable charm. "This is the Dao rhyme," Grandpa Ding said. "Only the Dao artifact has the Dao rhyme." "Dao artifact?" Yang Zai Ocean's heart was shocked. "Yes, the Dao artifact," Grandpa Ding said in a different tone. Just as Yang Zai Ocean and his companions passed through the violent airflow layer and flew towards the halfway point of Shyandao Mountain, a huge spaceship also flew over from the direction of the Chaos Domain, then blasted through the violent airflow layer and entered Shyandao Mountain. On the hull of this huge spaceship, the 3 words Invincible Gate were written. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 991, Invincible Forbidden Area. Anyone who trespasses will die. Invincible Sect. The first super sect in the Chaos Domain. It is also the first sect in the 4 domains. The 3 words Invincible Sect are filled with invincible power, and they are like the power that surpasses the heavens, rolling up heavy waves. On the bow of the spaceship, a group of Invincible Sect masters stood, led by the founder of the Invincible Sect, Invincible Zinshan. Invincible Zinshan. An existence that is resounding throughout the 4 domains and invincible in the 4 domains. Invincible Zinshan is tall, nearly 3 meters. It is rare for a human master to be so tall. And behind Invincible Zinshan stood Xiao Heifeng, who was the first in the 4 domains last time. Xiao Heifeng stood behind Invincible Zinshan, wearing a black battle robe, exuding a chaotic aura from head to toe, and his expression was extremely arrogant. After the Invincible Sect spaceship came in, it saw the Shyandi Shenfu spaceship flying towards the halfway point of Shyandao Mountain from a distance. Seeing that it was the Divine Palace spaceship, Xiao Heifeng glanced at Yang Zai Ocean and others on the spaceship. Although it was just an unintentional glance, his eyes were filled with indifference, contempt, and cruelty. Xiao Heifeng was like a high sky dragon, looking at a group of ants crawling on the ground. Yang Zai Ocean also saw the Invincible Gate spaceship that blasted through the air layer from a distance. Feeling Xiao Heifeng's contemptuous eyes, he couldn't help but frown. That's Xiao Heifeng. The Lord of Heaven and Earth said to Yang Ocean. Seeing Zhao Haifeng's contemptuous and cruel eyes, the Lord of Heaven and Earth felt very uncomfortable. In the past, every term, the disciples of the Invincible Gate looked at the disciples of the Divine Palace with such contempt and cruel eyes. This look was undoubtedly also a contempt for the high-level officials of the Divine Palace and him. The Divine Palace spaceship did not stop and continued to fly halfway up the mountain. Is that kid in the blue robe Yang Ocean? Zhao Haifeng asked. Yes, he is Yang Ocean, the first in this battle of the Divine Realm. The ancient ancestor of the Invincible Gate, Zhang Chao, said. A God Lord can also win the first place in the God Realm, which is simply laughable. Another ancient ancestor of the Invincible Sect, Li Hui, sneered and shook his head, and said with a smile, I think the God Realm is becoming more and more decadent. If it continues like this, it will withdraw from the Four Realms sooner or later. Zhang Chao smiled and said, the God Realm is the last of the Four Realms, and it is normal to withdraw from the Four Realms. The Invincible Zinshan, who had been silent all the time, said to Zhao Haifeng, although this Yang Ocean is only at the peak of the late 10th level of the God Lord, he has an incredible talent and amazing combat power. You can't underestimate him. He just hasn't practiced for a short time. Zhao Haifeng nodded and said, I didn't expect that the God Realm would actually produce a genius with the godhead of the two Chaos Kings, but, unfortunately, his realm is too low. At this point, his eyes showed a cruel look. I won't let him leave alive in this battle of Shyandao Mountain. The Invincible Zinshan also flashed with murderous intent. When the time comes, you have to get rid of him, even if you have to use your trump card. Kill him at all costs. Master, don't worry. Zhao Haifeng said confidently, even if he breaks through the second, third or even fourth level of the God King, it will be easy for me to kill him. Wu Dizanshan nodded, except for Yang Ocean, Han Xianrang from the Demon Realm and Jiuirang from Hell, they can't leave alive. At this time, the Xiandi Divine Mansion spaceship arrived at the halfway point of Xiandao Mountain. There happened to be an extremely wide plain halfway up the mountain. This was the place where the disciples from the four domains fought in the Battle of Xiandao Mountain. Around the plain, there stood a number of palace groups, divided into four parts, east, south, west, and north. The palace group on the east was where the disciples of the divine domain lived. After arriving at the palace, Yang Ocean chose a palace where the disciples lived. At this time, there was still half a month before the Battle of Xiandao Mountain, so he planned to take advantage of this half month to practice hard and break through the 5th level of the Divine King. After practicing these days, his strength has improved a lot, but he has not yet sensed the barrier of the 5th level of the Divine King. However, before retreating to practice, Yang Ocean looked at the Xiandao Mountain in front of him, which was full of Taurime, and couldn't help asking Uncle Ding, since this Xiandao Mountain is a great Dao artifact, it should be possible to subdue it, right? It would be a lie to say that he was not greedy for Xiandao Mountain, this great Dao artifact. Of course. Grandpa Ding replied. Of course. Yang Ocean was excited. When you reach the end of God and prove the way, maybe you can subdue it. Grandpa Ding said again. After reaching the end of God, you have to prove the way. After Yang Ocean was stunned, he was like an eggplant hit by frost. The formation in the main hall of the Origin Palace is fine. When his Origin God body breaks through the 21st level, he will have a chance to take it away. But this Xiandao Mountain has to wait until he proves the way. This is really a great artifact. Like Xiandao Mountain cannot be subdued after proving the way. However, you have the two Chaos King Godheads, so there is a 30% to 40% hope. Mr. Ding said 30% to 40%. Yang Ocean took a deep breath. He had to try it anyway. Xiandao Mountain can produce Xiandao holy water. This alone is a priceless treasure. With Xiandao Mountain, he would no longer have to go through so much trouble to find Xiandao holy water. There are many sword formations in Xiandao Mountain. 8 sword formations have already given birth to sword domains. After the Battle of Xiandao Mountain is over, you can try to see if you can integrate these sword domains. Mr. Ding said. 8 sword domains. Yang Ocean was surprised to hear this. If so, he could practice the 2 sword domains to the great success realm. After the Battle of Shyandao Mountain is over, there will be another year before the restrictions on the channels of each domain will be restored. Therefore, after the Battle of Shyandao Mountain is over, he will have another year to stay in Shyandao Mountain. However, if you want to integrate these sword domains, you must win the first place in the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. Mr. Ding said, these sword formations are all on the top of Shyandao Mountain. The top of the mountain is rich in Shyandao spiritual energy, which is an excellent place for cultivation. Only the first in each session can enter the top of Shyandao Mountain to practice. Yang Xiaoshan nodded. However, in addition to the top of the mountain, there is another place on Shyandao Mountain that breeds Shyandao spiritual energy. Although the Shyandao spiritual energy is thinner than that on the top of the mountain, it is also a holy place for practice. Uncle Ding said. Is Uncle Ding referring to the Shyandao cave? Yang Xiaoshan asked. His master also mentioned this Shyandao cave to him. However, every time there was a battle on Shyandao Mountain, the Shyandao cave was occupied by the disciples of the Invincible sect for practice, and disciples from other domains were not allowed to approach. Over time, the Shyandao cave became the property of the Invincible sect. Yes, it is the Shyandao cave. You can go there to practice in the next half month. Only with the help of the Shyandao spiritual energy there, you will have the hope of breaking through the 5th level of the God King before the battle on Shyandao Mountain. Otherwise, you will not be able to break through the 5th level of the God King before the battle on Shyandao Mountain. Mr. Ding said. Yang Xiaoshan nodded after hearing that, and after a slight hesitation, he flew out of the palace, and then flew towards the Shyandao cave. Sure enough, before Yang Xiaoshan arrived at the Shyandao cave, he saw a huge stone tablet standing in front of him from afar, the forbidden area of the Invincible sect. Any disciples from other sects who trespass will be killed. Obviously, this huge stone tablet was erected by the Invincible sect. At this moment, a large group of disciples of the Invincible sect flew in from another direction in the distance, but the leader was not Zhao Haifeng. Chapter 992, Bombarding the Invincible sect's disciples. The leader of this group of Wu Demon disciples is called Chen Hage, who is the direct disciple of Wu Demon's ancient ancestor Zhang Yichao, and one of the 3 strongest disciples of Wu Demon who participated in the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. His strength is already at the peak of the 5th level of the late Divine Emperor. Chen Hage led a group of Wu Demon disciples to the Shyandao cave. When he saw Yang Xiaoshan from afar, he was surprised, sneered, sped up, and then blocked in front of Yang Xiaoshan. Yang Xiaoshan from the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth, right? Chen Hage looked Yang Xiaoshan up and down with contempt, and then pointed to the stone tablet next to him. You didn't see the stone tablet. This place is our invincible forbidden area. If you trespass, you will die. Yang Xiaoshan's eyes were cold. Shyandao Mountain is an ownerless thing. Why can only you disciples of the Invincible sect enter the Shyandao cave to practice? A disciple of the Invincible sect next to Chen Hage heard this and laughed. Why? Just because we are stronger than you, in this world, only the strong have the right to speak, like you rubbish. Do you think you are worthy of entering the Shyandao cave to practice? You rubbish enter the Shyandao cave to practice. That is polluting the Shyandao cave. This disciple of the Invincible sect is the disciple of the ancient ancestor of the Invincible sect, Li Hui, named Wang Qingji. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he saw a figure flash, and before he could react, he felt a pain in his stomach, and the whole person was knocked out by Yang Xiaoshan's punch. Wang Qingji was smashed, and flew to the top of a distant mountain. Rocks collapsed and flew. When he fell to the ground, his face was deformed by the pain. All the disciples of Wu Demon were shocked. Wang Qingji could pass the Battle of Chaos Domain, and enter the top 100 to participate in the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. His strength was naturally not weak. He was in the early stage of the 3rd level of the Divine Emperor. He didn't expect to be knocked away by Yang Xiaoshan with one punch. After being shocked, everyone in Wu Demon surrounded him, and surrounded Yang Xiaoshan. Chen Hage stared at Yang Xiaoshan with a gloomy face. Yang Xiaoshan, you are looking for death, do you know? Originally, I planned to deal with you after the Battle of Shyandao Mountain. Since you insist on looking for death, I will crush you to death now. At this point, the peak power of the late 5th level of the Divine Emperor was urged to the extreme. The divine light on his body was heavily supported. It turned out to be the 5 great divine bodies, and 2 of them were against the sky. Although the son of the buried god also had 2 against the sky divine bodies, they were only 4 divine bodies, and Chenhage in front of him had 1 more top level divine body than the son of the buried god. Then, Chenhage's 2 godheads flew out. His 2 godheads were the same as the son of buried god, 2 chaotic godheads. Suddenly, the chaotic energy was violent. The chaotic energy gushing out of his 2 chaotic godheads was much stronger than that of the son of buried god. Chaos godheads also have strong and weak points. Chenhage's 2 chaotic godheads are stronger than those of the son of buried god. At this moment, Chenhage's aura was so strong that it completely overwhelmed the son of buried god. Looking at Chenhage's chaotic godhead, Yang Ocean's face was normal. This time, there were 3 disciples of the chaotic godhead in the chaos domain. One was Zio Haifeng, one was Yubo, and the other was Chenhage in front of him. The 3 were also the 3 strongest disciples of the chaos domain. Die. Chenhage suddenly punched Yang Ocean. The power of the 2 chaotic godheads and the 5 divine bodies roared out from the fist force. Seeing Chenhage's punch coming, Yang Ocean's face was calm. He also activated the power of the 2 great godheads and 5 great divine bodies, and punched out suddenly. The 2 fists collided fiercely. There was a loud noise that shook the sky. Chenhage, who was originally full of confidence, felt a terrifying force coming at him. His face changed drastically, and the whole person flew backwards like a fallen leaf, and the speed of flying backwards was even faster than Wang Qingji just now. Chenhage fell to the end and vomited blood. The disciples of the Wu demon finally changed their faces when they saw Chenhage being blown away. Chenhage touched the blood on the corner of his mouth, roared, and activated all the power of the laws of chaos and the mysteries of life. When the power of the mysteries of life was activated, his whole body of divine power actually glowed with red light. It was the supreme mystery of the mysteries of life. Chenhage punched Yang Ocean again, shouting, "Yang Ocean, I have cultivated the supreme mysteries of 5 million lives. You don't believe that you have cultivated more supreme mysteries than me." Yang Ocean did not activate all the laws of chaos, but still activated 12.96 million laws, punching out at the same time, but his fist force was shining with golden red light. Boom. Chenhage's fist force was exploded, and all the laws of chaos were broken. And he shot out again like a broken leaf. This time, he was thrown directly out of the flat ground, and fell down from the cliff of Shyandao Mountain. Brother Chen. The disciples of Wu Demon were shocked, and many disciples came forward to save Chenhage, but as soon as these disciples moved, they were all blown away by Yang Ocean's punch. Like Chenhage, they all flew out of the flat ground, and then fell down from the cliff. The remaining disciples of Wu Demon were so scared that they dared not move. With one punch, Yang Ocean smashed the stone tablet with the words "Invincible Sect's Forbidden Land" into pieces. He glanced at all the disciples of Invincible Sect coldly and said, "If you, the disciples of Invincible Sect, dare to enter the Heavenly Dao Cave to practice in the future, you will die. You disciples of Invincible Sect are all rubbish. If you enter the Heavenly Dao Cave to practice, you will pollute the Heavenly Dao Cave. Get lost." Yang Ocean's voice was like thunder from the 9 heavens, and the remaining disciples of Invincible Sect bled from all 7 orifices. How dare these disciples of Invincible Sect say anything more? They fled in panic. One of them ran away and roared, "Yang Ocean, just wait, our senior brother Zio will come and trample you to death." However, as soon as he finished speaking, he saw countless laws of the King of Chaos falling from the void. The Invincible Sect disciple and the remaining disciples of Invincible Sect were all blown away. Yang Ocean ignored the disciples of Invincible Sect and flew straight to the Heavenly Dao Cave. Soon, he saw a Heavenly Dao Cave surging with the spiritual energy of the Heavenly Dao. These Heavenly Dao spiritual energy circulated endlessly at the entrance of the Heavenly Dao Cave and did not overflow. However, when you arrived at the entrance of the cave, you could feel the amazing Heavenly Dao spiritual energy inside. Yang Ocean did not hesitate and jumped in and entered the Heavenly Dao Cave. Not long after Yang Ocean entered the Heavenly Dao Cave, the Lord of Heaven and Earth, who was thinking about something in the palace, saw an old ancestor come in and report in a panic. saying that Yang Xiaoshan went to the Heavenly Dao Cave, had a conflict with the disciples of the Invincible sect, and seriously injured Chen Hage and other disciples of the Invincible sect. The Lord of Heaven and Earth was stunned for a while, and then smiled and said, "This kid. He is worthy of being his disciple." At this time, Xiao Heifeng and Yubo also learned that Chen Hage and a group of Invincible sect disciples were seriously injured by Yang Xiaoshan, and they could not help but be furious, with murderous intent in their eyes. "Break into my Invincible sect's forbidden area, and dare to seriously injure my Invincible sect disciples. You are looking for death. You are simply looking for death." Xiao Heifeng was furious, soared into the sky, and flew towards the Heavenly Dao Cave with Yubo at a high speed. Just as Xiao Heifeng and Yubo were heading towards the Xian Dao Cave, Han Xianrang from the Demon Realm and Ji Yuirang from the Hell also learned the news, and flew towards the Xian Dao Cave one after another. Chapter 993. The first place in this battle of Xian Dao Mountain is Xiao Heifeng again. A disciple of the Holy Demon sect next to Han Xianrang said, "I didn't expect Yang Xiaoshan to be so bold that he dared to rob the Xian Dao Cave of the Invincible sect. Not only did he rob, but he also injured so many disciples of the Invincible sect. This disciple is called Hao Feiting. His strength is second only to Han Xianrang among all the disciples of the Holy Demon sect." Han Xianrang looked at the direction of the Xian Dao Cave with deep eyes. "I didn't expect Yang Xiaoshan to dare to do this." He was also unhappy that the Invincible sect occupied the Xian Dao Cave. He also thought about coming over to snatch the Xian Dao Cave from the hands of the Invincible sect disciples, but in the end, it was just a thought, and he didn't dare to do it. But Yang Xiaoshan did it. Even Chen Hage was seriously injured by Yang Xiaoshan. It seems that Yang Xiaoshan's strength is stronger than we thought. Hao Feiting said this with a solemn face. No matter how strong Yang Xiaoshan is, he can't win against Xiao Heifeng. Another disciple of the Supreme Demon sect shook his head and said, "Yang Xiaoshan's behavior is undoubtedly making his death more miserable. I heard that Xiao Heifeng has received a great opportunity in the past 30,000 years, and his strength has reached an extremely terrifying level, which is many times stronger than the last battle at Xian Dao Mountain." Han Xianrang also showed helplessness when mentioning Xiao Heifeng. Even if he has an immortal demon body, even if he has inherited the inheritance of the prehistoric demon ancestor, facing Xiao Heifeng, the strongest demon of this generation in the chaos domain, he still has no confidence and certainty, because according to the information he has received, Xiao Heifeng's realm has far surpassed him. Moreover, Xiao Heifeng hid a lot of talent and combat power in the last battle at Xian Dao Mountain. If Xiao Heifeng shows all his talent and combat power, I'm afraid that no one among the four domain's disciples can last more than 10 moves in front of him this time. Not to mention 10 moves, I'm afraid that there are not many people who can withstand one of his moves. It seems that Xiao Heifeng will take the first place in the battle of Xian Dao Mountain again. A disciple of the Supreme Demon sect said, although Yang Xiaoshan is strong, his realm is too low. If Yang Xiaoshan wants to defeat Xiao Heifeng, he must break through the realm of the Divine Emperor. But during the battle of the Divine Realm, Yang Xiaoshan was only at the peak of the late 10th level of the Divine Lord. Even if he practiced faster, he could not break through to the Divine Emperor. After a while, Han Xianrang and others saw the Xian Dao Cave. They saw two figures flying towards the Xian Dao Cave from another direction at an astonishing speed from a distance. "It's Xiao Heifeng," Hao Feiting exclaimed. All the disciples of the Demon Realm stopped. The people who came were Xiao Heifeng and Yubo. Xiao Heifeng and Yubo flew towards the Xian Dao Cave at a high speed. Seeing the disciples of the Supreme Demon sect in the distance, they snorted coldly. Of course, he knew that the disciples of the Supreme Demon sect came here to watch the show. However, at this time, he had no time to pay attention to the disciples of the Supreme Demon sect, and continued to fly to the Xian Dao Cave with Yubo. At this time, Ji Yuirang also led the disciples of the Hell Nether Ghost Gate to fly from a distance. Seeing Xiao Heifeng from afar, he hesitated for a moment. Obviously, he, who possessed the body of the 10,000 Ghosts prison, was also very afraid of Xiao Heifeng. When Xiao Heifeng arrived and saw the shattered stone tablet, his face sank. Yang Xiaoshen's move was simply a naked provocation and disregard for their invincible gate. He came to the entrance of the Xiandao cave and shouted, "Yang Xiaoshen, get out." However, when he was about to enter the Xiandao cave, he was repelled by an invisible force. Not only Xiao Heifeng, but also Han Xianrong, Ji Yuarong and others were surprised. "Break it for me." Xiao Heifeng roared angrily, activated his divine power, and punched hard on the restriction at the entrance of the Xiandao cave. With a huge bang, Xiao Heifeng not only failed to break the restriction, but was shocked back again and again. Everyone was shocked. What's going on? Was this restriction set by Yang Xiaoshen? Impossible. Yang Xiaoshen can't possibly set up such a powerful restriction. The news that Xiao Heifeng bombarded the restriction at the entrance of the Xiandao cave, but could not break it was also heard by Wu Dizhanshan, Zhang Yichao, Li Hui and others. Could it be that the mysterious power in Yang Xiaoshen set up the restriction? Li Hui was surprised. "I'm afraid it is, but in the Battle of Xiandao Mountain, it is forbidden to use power other than his own." Wu Dizhanshan's face was gloomy. He can't use this power at that time. Robbed my Wu Demon Xiandao cave. Injured my Wu Demon disciples. This Yang Xiaoshen is so bold. Zhang Yichao thought of his disciple's serious injury, and he couldn't suppress his murderous intent. Originally, his disciple Chen Hage was expected to win the top 10 in the Battle of Xiandao Mountain, but now he was seriously injured by Yang Xiaoshen. I'm afraid he will no longer be in the top 10 in this Battle of Xiandao Mountain. Although Xiandao holy water is a healing holy product, it also takes time to recover. Now there is only half a month left before the Battle of Xiandao Mountain, and it is difficult for his disciple to fully recover. However, the 4 domains high-level officials had set a rule that the high-level officials were not allowed to intervene in the affairs of the Heavenly Dao Cave, and only the younger generation of disciples could fight for it, so they could not make a move. While Xiao Heifeng was frantically bombarding the restrictions at the entrance of the Heavenly Dao Cave, Yang Xiaoshen sat cross-legged in the depths of the Heavenly Dao Cave, practicing several major techniques of the chaos swallowing heaven art to devour the Heavenly Dao spiritual energy in the cave. Under the operation of Yang Xiaoshen's several major techniques, the Heavenly Dao spiritual energy suddenly rushed towards Yang Xiaoshen and continuously poured into Yang Xiaoshen's body. In just a few days, Yang Xiaoshen sensed the barrier of the 5th level of the God King. Yang Xiaoshen used his divine power and blasted open the barrier of the 5th level of the God King with an overwhelming force. Suddenly, the divine light rose sharply. Half a month later, when Yang Xiaoshen stopped practicing, he not only completely stabilized the cultivation of the 5th level of the God King, but also improved it. This was still the thin Heavenly Dao spiritual energy in the Heavenly Dao Cave. If it was the Heavenly Dao spiritual energy on the top of the Xiandao Mountain, the effect would be better. Tomorrow is the Battle of Xiandao Mountain. Yang Xiaoshen left Xiandao Cave. When he came out of Xiandao Cave, Xiao Heifeng and others had already left. Seeing this, Yang Xiaoshen flew back to the palace where he lived. Just as Yang Xiaoshen flew back to the palace, the Lord of Heaven and Earth frowned and said to the ancestor of Taixu and Sword Gate, "You mean, in the past 30,000 years, Xiao Heifeng entered the temple of the Lonely Lord to practice? Although there are very few powerful masters in the 4 domains, there have been many powerful masters in the 4 domains since ancient times, and the Lonely Lord, Lonely Second, is definitely the most amazing one. I'm afraid it's true." The ancestor of Taixu and Sword Gate nodded. His expression was quite heavy. Although they had learned that Xiao Heifeng had obtained a great opportunity in the past 30,000 years, they still didn't expect that Xiao Heifeng actually entered the temple of the Lonely Lord to practice. If Xiao Heifeng has obtained the inheritance of the Lonely Lord, I'm afraid that his realm is now more than the 9th level of the Divine Emperor. The ancestor of Taixu and Sword Gate said in a deep voice. Previously, they had speculated that Xiao Heifeng's realm was around the 8th level of the Divine Emperor, but now if Xiao Heifeng has inherited the Lonely Lord, his realm may have surpassed the 9th level of the Divine Emperor. Tomorrow's battle at Xiandao Mountain, the young master may be in danger. The founder of Taixu and Sword Sect said worriedly. Originally, Yang Xiaoshan seriously injured Chen Hage, and they thought Yang Xiaoshan had a chance to fight Xiao Heifeng. But now that they know that Xiao Heifeng may have inherited the Lone Fox Lord and his cultivation may be more than the 9th level of the Divine Emperor, their mood can't help but fall to the bottom. Chapter 994 Xiao Heifeng challenges the entire Divine Palace. As soon as Yang Xiaoshan returned to the palace, the Lord of Heaven and Earth came to him and told him about Xiao Heifeng's cultivation in the Lonely Lord Temple for 30,000 years. I'm afraid Xiao Heifeng has inherited the Lonely Lord's legacy, and his cultivation is probably more than the 9th level of the Divine Emperor. The Lord of Heaven and Earth pondered. You have to be careful in tomorrow's battle. If you meet him, don't force yourself. You are only in the Divine King realm now. It's normal if you can't defeat him. At worst, you can participate in the Battle of Shyandao Mountain next time and take back the first place. The Lord of Heaven and Earth knew Yang Xiaoshan's character and was afraid that his disciple would risk his life and fight Xiao Heifeng to the death. Master, don't worry, I will remember it. Yang Xiaoshan nodded. The Lord of Heaven and Earth sat for a while and said some things that needed to be paid attention to in tomorrow's battle, and then left. After the Lord of Heaven and Earth disappeared, Yang Xiaoshan said to himself, more than the 9th level of the Divine Emperor. Originally, he and the Lord of Heaven and Earth had previously speculated that Xiao Heifeng's strongest strength was the 8th level of the Divine Emperor, but he didn't expect that now it might be more than the 9th level of the Divine Emperor. It seems that it will not be an easy task to deal with Xiao Heifeng tomorrow. However, one move can't solve it. Then 2 moves. Yang Xiaoshan swallowed the divine fruit and sat cross-legged on the Chaos Spirit Stone to practice. Nothing happened overnight. The next day, the sun was shining brightly. The Lord of Heaven and Earth led Yang Xiaoshan and others to meet with the Kaishan Academy in the Eternal Kingdom, and then flew to the place of the competition. When Yang Xiaoshan and others came to the plain, they saw people from the Chaos Realm, the Demon Realm, and the Hell also flew from other directions, and the 4 parties arrived at the plain almost at the same time. Xiao Heifeng saw Yang Xiaoshan from a distance, snorted coldly, and did not hide the murderous intent in his eyes. If eyes could kill, Yang Xiaoshan would have been riddled with holes. Soon, everyone came to the plain. After arriving, Wu Dizanshan looked around and said to the Lord of Kaishan, the Ghost Lord of Hell, and the Supreme Demon Ancestor of the Demon Realm, since everyone is here, let me tell you the rules of this competition. The competition rules are the same as in previous years. The opponents are determined by drawing lots. But this time, the top leaders of our 4 domains have agreed that we can also challenge opponents directly in the form of challenges, and even challenge multiple people, but there is only one chance to challenge. Because Shyandao Mountain is special this time, the first place will not only get 3,000 mouthfuls of Shyandao holy water, 340 million year old divine medicines, and 30 million year old divine medicines, but also a set of chaos artifacts. And the first place can enter the top of Shyandao Mountain to practice for 1 year. Wu Dizanshan briefly explained the rules of the competition. In fact, the rules are similar to those of previous years. If everyone has no objection, let's start now. As soon as Wu Dizanshan finished speaking, he saw Xiao Heifeng beside him suddenly jumped up and landed in the middle of the flat ground. After landing in the middle of the flat ground, Wu Dizanshan looked around, and finally his eyes fell on Yang Xiaoshan. I, Xiao Heifeng, want to challenge all the participating disciples of Xiandi Shenfu. All the participating disciples of Xiandi Shenfu, including Yang Xiaoshan. When the strong men from all sides heard this, there was a commotion. Originally, when Xiao Heifeng looked at Yang Xiaoshan just now, everyone thought that Xiao Heifeng wanted to challenge Yang Xiaoshan, but they didn't expect that he wanted to challenge all the participating disciples of Xiandi Shenfu. Hao Feiteng beside Han Xianrang said, it seems that Xiao Heifeng wants to get rid of all the disciples of Xiandi Shenfu at once. If all the disciples of Xiandi Shenfu are eliminated, then in this battle of Shyandao Mountain, wouldn't there be no disciple who can enter the top 100? Yang Xiaoshan has brought this upon himself. He actually dared to rob the Shyandao cave of the Invincible sect. Now he has implicated all the disciples of Xiandi Shenfu. A group of disciples discussed. The disciples of the demon realm and hell looked at Yang Ocean and the disciples of Xiandi Shenfu with a gloating look on their faces. I just don't know if Yang Ocean and the disciples of Xiandi Shenfu dare to accept the challenge. Hao Fiteng said. Han Xianrong also looked at Yang Ocean. Like everyone else, he wanted to know if Yang Ocean dared to accept Zhao Haifeng's challenge. According to the rules of the war, Yang Ocean could refuse. But Yang Ocean is the number one in the divine domain. If Yang Ocean refuses and admits defeat without even fighting, the divine domain will undoubtedly become a joke among all the domains. There are more than a dozen disciples from Xiandi Shenfu participating in this war. When they heard that Zhao Haifeng wanted to challenge all of them, their faces turned ugly. Just when everyone's eyes fell on Yang Ocean and others, Yang Ocean jumped up and landed in the middle of the flat ground. He looked at Zhao Haifeng indifferently. Zhao Haifeng, you think too highly of yourself. Do you think you can really challenge all the disciples of Xiandi Shenfu alone? You are not worthy of all the disciples of Xiandi Shenfu to fight together. I'm enough to deal with you. Everyone was stunned. Yang Ocean actually wants to accept Zhao Haifeng's challenge alone. Hao Fiteng was surprised. He is quite courageous. Han Xianrong said. Courage? Hao Fiteng shook his head. If he joins forces with the disciples of the Divine Palace, there is still hope that he can stop Zhao Haifeng's attack. Now he is alone and will definitely fail. Zhao Haifeng laughed when he heard this. Okay, Yang Ocean, then I will wait and see how you deal with me. At this point, the aura in his body was no longer suppressed and released. Suddenly, the space roared. An astonishing aura continued to flow out of him. Soon, Zhao Haifeng's realm was raised to the 7th level of the Divine Emperor, and it continued to soar at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, it was already the 8th level of the Divine Emperor. Seeing that Zhao Haifeng's realm was still soaring, after being raised to the 8th level of the Divine Emperor, both Han Xianrong and Ji Yuirong's disciples in various domains changed their faces. 9th level of the Divine Emperor. When Zhao Haifeng's realm was raised to the 9th level of the Divine Emperor, the disciples and masters in various domains were all heartbroken. With Zhao Haifeng's combat power, the 8th level of the Divine Emperor has already swept the disciples of the 4 domains, let alone the 9th level of the Divine Emperor. Finally, Zhao Haifeng's realm was raised to the early stage of the 10th level of the Divine Emperor, and then he completely stopped. Seeing that Zhao Haifeng had indeed surpassed the 9th level of the Divine Emperor, and broke through to the 10th level of the Divine Emperor, Han Xianrong, Ji Yuirong and others all took a breath of cold air. No wonder Zhao Haifeng dared to challenge all the disciples of the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth with his own strength. The Lord of Heaven and Earth, the Ghost Lord of the Netherworld, the Supreme Demon Ancestor and others saw that Zhao Haifeng was indeed the 10th level of the Divine Emperor, and their faces sank. At this time, Zhao Haifeng activated the power of the Godhead, the Divine Body, the Law of Chaos, and the Domain of the Sword. In the last battle of Xiandao Mountain, Zhao Haifeng showed to Chaos Godheads and to Heaven-defying Divine Bodies, but this time, he directly showed 3 Chaos Godheads and 4 Heaven-defying Divine Bodies, and the Chaos Law is 18 million. The Son of the Buried God has 2 Chaos Godheads, and the Chaos Laws of the 2 Godheads add up to 11 million, while the laws of the 3 Chaos Godheads of Zhao Haifeng add up to 18 million. The Sword Realm, like last time, is a 14 Sword Realms, but last time the 14 Sword Realms did not achieve small success, and this time, all the 14 Sword Realms have achieved small success. Zhao Haifeng exudes invincible power. Looking down on the world, he stares down at Yang Ocean, as if he is looking at a grasshopper that is about to be crushed to death by him. Chapter 995 Yang Ocean, do you regret it? Seeing that Zhao Haifeng was actually the Chaos Godhead among the 3 Talents Godheads, and that he had the 4 Heaven-defying Divine Bodies, 18 million Chaos Laws, and the 14 Sword Domains, all of them had achieved minor success, all the disciples were shocked. Even the Lord of Heaven and Earth and the other main gods were shocked. 3 Chaos Godheads. The Supreme Saint Demon Ancestor of the Demon Realm could not hide his surprise. He had dominated the Supreme Saint Demon sect for countless years, but this was the first time he had seen a disciple with 3 Chaos Godheads. In the martial spirit world, it was already very rare to have 3 godheads, not to mention that all 3 godheads were at the chaos level. With this boy here, the Invincible Gate will dominate the world. The Nether Ghost Lord also exclaimed. The Invincible Gate was originally the first in the 4 domains. If Xiao Heifeng grows up in the future, the Invincible Gate will be even more terrifying. Seeing this, the Lord of Heaven and Earth looked at Yang Xiaoshan with even more worry. The powerful men in the 4 domains also looked at Yang Xiaoshan and shook their heads secretly. It seems that there is no suspense in this battle. Han Xianrong shook his head. Although Yang Xiaoshan is strong, Xiao Heifeng's realm is too high. I'm afraid Yang Xiaoshan can't even withstand a single move from Xiao Heifeng. Hao Feiteng shook his head and thought of Xiao Heifeng sweeping across the 4 regions. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart, feeling helpless and unwilling. Yang Xiaoshan, do you regret robbing my Wu Demon Xiandao cave? Xiao Heifeng walked towards Yang Xiaoshan step by step, with an invincible power constantly pressing towards Yang Xiaoshan, his eyes cold. Do you regret hurting all the disciples of my Wu Demon? Regret? Yang Xiaoshan's face was normal, and he didn't retreat, but walked towards Xiao Heifeng. Why should I regret it? Because of you? At this point, he said, what a pity. It's a pity that you were not there at that time, otherwise. Xiao Heifeng's eyes flashed coldly. What else? Otherwise, I will blow you off the cliff of Xiandao Mountain, just like I blew away Chen Hage. Yang Xiaoshan said. Everyone was stunned. Xiao Heifeng laughed in anger. Blast me off Xiandao Mountain. At this point, he suddenly punched Yang Xiaoshan. You are a ridiculous grasshopper in my eyes. Today, I will use you to try my newly cultivated supreme divine skill, the Invincible Heaven-Shaking Divine Fist. After breaking through to the Divine Emperor, you can practice divine skills. Divine skills are extremely difficult to practice successfully. Not only do you need talent, but you also need endless resources. As Xiao Heifeng punched out, suddenly, the space trembled violently, and a huge fist print blasted through the layers of space. Every time the fist print passed through an inch of space, a layer of divine light bloomed. Every time a layer of divine light bloomed, the fist force became stronger. When the fist force blasted in front of Yang Xiaoshan, the fist force had no idea how many layers of divine light it had. The terrifying power was overwhelming, and the sweeping airwaves formed a terrifying storm, submerging every inch of space on the flat ground. Under Xiao Heifeng's punch, Yang Xiaoshan had no way to avoid it. Looking at the opponent's fist force, Yang Xiaoshan urged the power of the Godhead in the body. The Godhead is the 2 kings of chaos, but the divine body is the 6 heaven-defying divine bodies. After the eternal, primordial destiny, primordial, origin, and chaos divine bodies, the heavenly Dao divine body is activated. The heavenly Dao aura swept the world. When Yang Xiaoshan activated the heavenly Dao divine body, the heavenly Dao mountain actually shone with layers of light. Obviously, the power of Yang Xiaoshan's heavenly Dao divine body caused the heavenly Dao mountain to react. The heavenly Dao mountain stood for eternity, and no force caused it to react, but at this moment, the light was so strong. Heavenly Dao aura. This is the heavenly Dao divine body. Jiuarong, who possessed the 10,000 ghosts prison body, and everyone looked at the heavenly Dao divine light on Yang Xiaoshan and was shocked. The master of heaven and earth was surprised and excited. Heavenly Dao divine body. This kid actually cultivated the heavenly Dao divine body. 6 heaven-defying divine bodies. The devil light in the eyes of the holy demon ancestor was bright, and the eyes of the invincible Zanshan were full of murderous intent. There has never been a moment when his murderous intent was so strong. However, even with 6 heaven-defying divine bodies, they can't turn defeat into victory. Zhang Yichao of Wu Demon sneered. At this moment, Yang Xiaoshan activated the power of all laws. This time, he no longer activated only the laws of the Chaos Dark Godhead, but the laws of 2 Godheads together. One Godhead has 12.96 million laws, and the 2 Godheads have 25.92 million laws. The chaotic energy roared. Even the people standing outside the flat ground were bombarded by the sea of chaotic energy, and retreated again and again. 25.92 million. Seeing Yang Xiaoshan's laws, everyone was shocked, and some disciples were even scared to their knees. Yangtze Ocean's two godheads cultivated 25.9 million laws, which means that Yangtze Ocean has cultivated the laws of each godhead to the extreme. This is more than unprecedented. Then, Yangtze Ocean activated the 5th level of the God King, and the 15 swords. Yangtze Ocean also punched out. The power of the divine nature, divine body, law, and sword domain roared out from the fist force, and collided with the opponent's invincible heaven-shaking fist. In the sky-shaking loud noise, Zhao Haifeng's invincible heaven-shaking fist force was actually exploded by Yangtze Ocean's fist force. Yangtze Ocean's fist force was unstoppable, and he blasted towards Zhao Haifeng. Zhao Haifeng was shocked and roared, and his whole body was supported by divine light, and he punched out again. Even so, Zhao Haifeng was still hit hard, and was blasted back again and again. He retreated for several miles, before he stood still. When he opened his mouth, a mouthful of blood spurted out. Everyone was stunned. The 5th level of God King. Hao Fiteng said with a chuckle. Han Xianrang and others were also shocked. It was only 10 years since the Battle of the God Realm. Originally, everyone thought that, even if Yangtze Ocean broke through the God King, he would only be the 1st level of God King. But Yangtze Ocean has now broken through to the 5th level of God King. How did he practice? The Wu demon disciples who were blasted by Yangtze Ocean were stunned. The Lord of Heaven and Earth was also surprised. He knew that Yangtze Ocean had gone to the Origin Palace. Could it be that his disciple had activated the time acceleration formation of the Origin Palace? However, even with the help of the time acceleration formation of the Origin Palace, it was impossible to practice so fast. How could everyone know that Yangtze Ocean was now practicing the 4 major techniques at the same time? Yangtze Ocean, even if you break through the 5th level of the God King, I can't lose to you. Zhao Haifeng was shocked and angry. He flashed and swung his sword at Yangtze Ocean again. This time, he urged the power of the mystery of life. The heaven and earth divine sword in Yangtze Ocean's hand also swung out, also urging the power of the mystery of life. A sound of divine swords clashing sounded. Sword light burst out. Zhao Haifeng was blown away again. Just as Zhao Haifeng was blown away, Yangtze Ocean flashed and swung a sword at Zhao Haifeng in midair. Suddenly, the amazing sword energy burst out and cut towards Zhao Haifeng's throat with a cutting momentum. Zhao Haifeng was totally unable to resist this astonishing sword energy. He could only watch the sword energy hit him. Seeing that his head was about to fall to the ground, at this moment, the Invincible Zenshin snorted coldly. Just a snort, the space exploded, the earth shook, and the heavy force of space fluctuated, bombarding the sword energy of Yangtze Ocean. Chapter 996 Yangtze Ocean challenges the entire chaos domain. The Lord of Heaven and Earth had been paying attention to Wu Dizenshin. When he saw Wu Dizenshin take action, he could not help but get furious. Wu Dizenshin, you dare to break the rules of the Battle of Heaven. The sound waves rolled, forming an invisible force, and also bombarded the sound waves of Wu Dizenshin. My disciples have admitted defeat. There is no need to compete anymore. Zhang Yichao shouted, and he and Li Hui and others took action at the same time. Suddenly, all the ancestors and ancient ancestors of the Wudi sect took action to rescue Zhao Haifeng. Zhao Haifeng was the most evil disciple in the history of the Wudi sect, and they naturally would not let Zhao Haifeng die. Seeing this, the ancestors and ancestors of the Xiandi Divine Mansion also took action angrily. You Wudi sect are extremely shameless. However, although the strength of the people in the Xiandi Divine Mansion was not weak, they were still a little worse than the masters of Wudi's Anshan of the Wudi sect. At this time, the masters of Kaishan Academy also took action. This is the matter between the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth and the Invincible sect. No one can interfere. The masters of the Kyankan Sword sect in the Chaos Domain also took action and faced the masters of the Kaishan Academy. The Kyankan Sword sect and the Invincible sect have always been on good terms. When the Kaishan Academy took action, they had a reason to take action. Seeing that the power of the Invincible sect and the Kyankan Sword sect overwhelmed the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth and the Kaishan Academy, and they were about to save Zhao Haifeng. At this moment, the Supreme Demon Ancestor of the Demon Realm took action. As soon as he took action, the demon flames were surging and bombarded the Invincible sect. The rules of the Battle of Xiandao Mountain were set by the 4 domains. No one can interfere. Now that your disciples of the Invincible sect are about to lose, you want to interfere? Forget it. The Supreme Demon Ancestor said coldly. That's right, no one can interfere in the battle between Yang Xiaoshan and Xiao Heifeng. The Nether Ghost Lord sneered and also took action. The sky full of evil ghosts rushed towards the Invincible Zinshan. In previous battles at Xiandao Mountain, the Invincible sect also overwhelmed the demon realm and hell. Now, it was rare for the Invincible sect to be frustrated, and the Supreme Demon Ancestor and the Nether Ghost Lord certainly could not let the Invincible sect break the rules. Although Wudi Zinshan was extremely powerful, he also changed his face, and was forced to retreat when faced with the attacks of the Lord of Heaven and Earth, the Supreme Demon Ancestor and the Nether Ghost Lord. The power of Wudi Zinshan and others was blocked, and Yang Xiaoshan's sword energy continued to bombard Xiao Heifeng. Xiao Heifeng felt an unprecedented death, roared, and activated the power of the Invincible Talisman. The Invincible Talisman was the talisman of the Invincible sect's invincible defense. His Invincible Talisman was refined by Wudi Zinshan. As long as it was activated, it could withstand the power below the Lord. Seeing Xiao Heifeng actually using the Invincible Talisman, Han Xianrong couldn't help but secretly scold Xiao Heifeng for being shameless. The Invincible Talisman was refined by Wudi Zinshan, and using the Invincible Talisman naturally violated the rules of the Battle of Xiandao Mountain. If during the Battle of Xiandao Mountain, the use of power other than one's own will violate the rules of the Battle of Xiandao Mountain, all the disciples of the sect who participated in the battle will be implicated. At that time, even if all the disciples of the sect entered the top 100, their awards will be cancelled. However, at this time, Xiao Heifeng could not care about anything else. Now, he only thought about his own life, and everything else was thrown behind his mind. Seeing that the power of the Invincible Divine Talisman was about to completely wrap Xiao Heifeng, suddenly, Yang Xiaoshan's sword energy was much faster again, and it instantly passed through the gap. Xiao Heifeng's eyes widened. I felt a chill in my throat. Then, he saw a column of blood gushing up. At this moment, he heard the angry roar of his master Wudi Zinshan. As for what he roared, he didn't know. Xiao Heifeng's consciousness stopped abruptly. Under the watchful eyes of masters from various domains, Xiao Heifeng's head was thrown up. When the power of the Invincible Divine Talisman wrapped Xiao Heifeng, his head just fell to the ground. The power of the Invincible Divine Talisman wrapped Xiao Heifeng's body, and then fell to the ground. Bang! These successive bang sounds hit the hearts of Wudi Zinshan and all the masters of Wu Demon. Wudi Zinshan and all the masters of Wu Demon were stunned. Xiao Heifeng, dead, dead! Exclamation mark. Fenja. Wudi Zinshan cried out in grief, roared angrily, and threw his hair up. Yang Xiaoshan, I'm going to kill you. He suddenly punched Yang Xiaoshan to kill him. Humph. The Lord of Heaven and Earth snorted coldly, and the eternal divine body was activated. Suddenly, the boundless power of time soared into the sky, and the god of time stood tall in the world. Yang Xiaoshan's god of time is only 10,000 feet high now, but the god of time of the Lord of Heaven and Earth is soaring into the clouds, blocking the sun, and the Lord of Heaven and Earth punched out. The power of time roared. At this moment, the Supreme Demon Ancestor also made a move at the same time, and the boundless sea of demons rushed up, and also punched Wudi Zinshan. The Nether Ghost Lord also made a move, and hundreds of millions of evil ghosts in hell came out, and killed Wudi Zinshan together. Wudi Zinshan was beaten back by the three men, his blood boiling. He stared at the three masters of heaven and earth, and at Yang Xiaoshan with bloodshot eyes. That look was unforgettable. Okay, Yang Xiaoshan, today, I will spare your life for now. All Wu Demon disciples listen to my order. Yang Xiaoshan is the one that Wu Demon must kill from now on. Even if there is only one person left in Wu Demon, you must kill Yang Xiaoshan for me. Wudi Zinshan's words sounded full of boundless killing intent, which made people shudder. Listening to Wudi Zinshan's order to kill in public, Yang Xiaoshan looked at the Wu Demon disciples who participated in the competition and said, everyone has a chance to challenge, right? Everyone looked strange when they heard this. Did Yang Xiaoshan want to challenge all the Wu Demon disciples who participated in the competition alone? In that case, I, Yang Xiaoshan, want to challenge all the participating disciples in the entire chaos domain. Yang Xiaoshan said. Challenge all the participating disciples in the entire chaos domain. There was silence at the scene. Han Xianrong, Guirong and others took a deep breath. All the disciples of the chaos domain were furious when they heard this. Yang Xiaoshan was blatantly despising the entire chaos domain. Since Yang Xiaoshan thinks highly of you and wants to challenge our entire chaos domain alone, then you go. Wudi Zanshan said to the disciples of Wudi sect and chaos domain with murderous intent in his eyes. Immediately, Yubo broke through the air and landed on the ground. Other disciples of Wudi sect also flew up. The ancestors of the major sects in the chaos domain also signaled to their disciples. Suddenly, all the disciples of the chaos domain flew down to the ground and surrounded Yang Xiaoshan. Wudi Zanshan was cold. In his opinion, although Yang Xiaoshan was strong, it was still difficult for him to challenge all the disciples of the chaos domain alone. Yubo still had hope of killing Yang Xiaoshan if 99 people took action. Kill. Yubo led the attack and killed Yang Xiaoshan with the magic sword in his hand. All the disciples of the chaos domain took action at the same time. These 99 chaos domain disciples were able to survive the chaos domain battle, so their combat power was imaginable. When 99 people attacked, their power collapsed the sky. Just as Yubo moved, Yang Xiaoshan's whole body suddenly surged with demonic energy, and one innate demon god after another flew out of the air, condensing into the void behind him. A full 3,000 demon gods stood tall in the sky. Chapter 997. There is no chaos domain anymore. Seeing the 3,000 demon gods behind Yang Xiaoshan, everyone was shocked. Especially the powerful men in the demon realm shouted out loud, "Chaos Demon Lord! 3,000 innate demon gods!" The Lord of Heaven and Earth was also shocked. His disciple also comprehended the 3,000 innate demon gods of the Chaos Demon Lord. Isn't it said that in this world, only the Chaos Demon Lord himself can comprehend the power of these 3,000 innate demon gods? Is it possible? But the Lord of Heaven and Earth shook his head again, thinking it was impossible. When the power of the 3,000 demon gods condensed behind Yang Xiaoshan, it condensed into a demon god world behind Yang Xiaoshan. The power of the demon gods was rolling and thick, and it was not weaker than his chaotic energy. At this moment, Yang Xiaoshan's whole body was surging with light. This light was not the light power of the Chaos Light Godhead. It was pure light power. In the astonishment of everyone, 14 wings of light condensed on Yang Xiaoshan's back. 14 wings of light. Is it the Lord of Light? An old ancestor spoke incoherently. How could it be possible? He actually cultivated the 14 wings of light. Legend has it that only the Lord of the Light realm possesses the 14 wings of light. Under this power of light, the strong men from hell and the demon realm retreated in fear, fearing that they would be stained by this purifying power of light. Yang Xiaoshan swung his two swords. The sword energy was violent. With the blessing of the power of the demon god, the power of the wings of light, the chaos godhead, and other powers, the sword energy was more brilliant than before. Wherever the sword energy passed, the attack power of Yubo and other chaos domain disciples was completely destroyed. Wherever the sword energy passed, screams rang out, and blood splashed in the air. One after another, the chaos domain disciples were blasted through by the sword energy, and were all blown away. Even if they activated the defense formation of the god armor, even if they tried their best to attack and fly away, they could not escape the sword energy of Yang Xiaoshan. When Yang Xiaoshan's sword passed, more than 30 disciples of the chaos domain fell in a pool of blood. Yubo and others were all dead and cold. You should know that among the disciples of chaos domain, there are many who are at the 5th level of Divine Emperor, and even at the 6th and 7th levels. Yang Xiaoshan actually killed more than 30 people with one sword. How powerful is this sword? The other disciples of Chaos Domain were also pale and terrified, obviously frightened by Yang Xiaoshan's sword. Some disciples of Wudi sect were about to admit defeat, but the previous disciples of Wudi sect did not give the disciples of Xiandi Shenfu a chance to speak, so Yang Xiaoshan would not do that either. Suddenly, Yang Xiaoshan struck out with his second sword. The sword energy cut through the air again. Then, Yang Xiaoshan struck out with his third and fourth swords. One sword after another. After 4 swords, all the disciples of Chaos Domain were knocked away, and no one was left standing, including Yubo, whose strength was second only to Zhao Heifeng. Yang Xiaoshan looked at Yubo, who was lying in a pool of blood and still trying to get up, and flew out with a sword. The heaven and earth divine sword directly pierced his throat and nailed him to the ground. At this point, all the 100 disciples of Chaos Domain who participated in the battle died. No one survived, and no one entered the top 100. In previous Shyandao Mountain battles, the top 10 were all from the Chaos Domain, and most of the top 100 were also Chaos Domain disciples, but this time, no one could enter the top 100. All dead. A Chaos Domain sect master felt as if the sky was collapsing, looking at the Chaos Domain disciples lying in a pool of blood in front of him in disbelief. The 99 people in the aftermath, plus Xiao Heifeng just now, a total of 100 people, all lying there. These disciples are all treasures of the major sects in the Chaos Domain. They were still alive just now, but now they have all become cold corpses. Before coming, the various sects in the Chaos Domain still imagined that the Chaos Domain would be like in previous years, madly abusing the 3 domains of God, Hell, and Demon. But the Shyandao Mountain battle had just begun, and all the Chaos Domain disciples became corpses. This is completely different from what they thought before they came. Wudi Zanshan and the masters of the Wudi sect looked at the Chaos Domain disciples who died in the battle, and their faces were also extremely ugly. In the past, the Wudi sect always returned to the Chaos Domain in triumph. This time, how will they face the fellow villagers of the Chaos Domain? Put Yang Xiaoshan at the top of my Wudi sect's must kill list. Wudi Zanshan said fiercely. Just now, he included Yang Xiaoshan in the Wudi sect's must kill list. Now, he can only raise Yang Xiaoshan's ranking to the top. The founder of the Kyankan Sword sect also shouted fiercely, Yang Xiaoshan will also be the top of my Kyankan Sword sect's must kill list in the future. The words of the two echoed on the flat ground for a long time. Yang Xiaoshan's sword energy also echoed on the flat ground for a long time. The Son of Chaos was the second in the Battle of the Gods domain, so he naturally came a long time ago. After 10 years of hard training, the evil state of his rival evil has long been stable. Before coming, he vowed to let Yang Xiaoshan die under his rival evil. But at this moment, he stood in the crowd, his face twitching. No, it was the rival evil that was twitching. The son of the buried god, who had changed his appearance and was hiding among the disciples participating in the battle in the divine realm, also trembled in his hand holding the sword of death. If they had previously been confident that they would kill Yang Xiaoshan, now that they were looking at Xiao Heifeng's body, their confidence was gone. The strong men from all domains looked at Yang Xiaoshan with a strange look. The supreme demon ancestor was even more surprised and doubtful. Legend has it that only the Chaos Demon Lord can comprehend the power of 3008 demon gods, but Yang Xiaoshan can comprehend it, which made him wonder. If the news that Yang Xiaoshan possessed the power of 3008 demon gods was passed back to the demon realm would be greatly shaken. Chaos Demon Lord. The supreme demon ancestor thought of the figure who stood proudly at the top of the demon realm that year, and his heart trembled. Yang Xiaoshan returned to the divine realm camp. Even though Wudi Zanshan had 1,000 knives and 1,000 cuts in his heart, he could only watch Yang Xiaoshan return to the side of the Lord of Heaven and Earth. The Lord of Heaven and Earth looked at the disciples around him, unable to hide his surprise, and had 1,000 words in his heart. Next, the drawing of lots began. The disciples of the 3 domains entered their respective arenas and began to compete. Cheers rose one after another. Wudi Zanshan watched the disciples of the God domain, the Demon domain, and the Hell domain compete and fight, and listened to the cheers of the 3 domains. He felt very uncomfortable. The Battle of Shyandao Mountain was still going on, but there was no chance for the Chaos domain. They wanted to leave Shyandao Mountain in advance, but the Chaos domain had never left Shyandao Mountain halfway. If they left halfway now, it would be a shame. But if they didn't leave, they would be like bystanders watching the disciples of the 3 domains compete, which was also a shame. Let's go. After some consideration, Wudi Zanshan finally gave the order and led the masters of the Wudi sect to leave Shyandao Mountain. Zhang Yichao and others, even though they were unwilling and had murderous intentions, could only follow Wudi Zanshan to leave. After passing through the airflow layer, Zhang Yichao couldn't help but say, Your Majesty, are we going back to the Chaos domain like this? If he went back to the Chaos domain like this, He really couldn't bear it. Wu Dizhanshan's eyes were cold. Of course we can't go back to the chaos realm like this. 1 year later, Jiuo Yun and the heaven-eating dragon will fight. We can't miss such a wonderful battle. Zhang Yichao understood the meaning of Wu Dizhanshan's words. Wu Dizhanshan planned to stay in the god realm and wait for the battle between the Lord of Heaven and Earth, Jiuo Yun, and the god-eating ancestor, to attack and kill the Lord of Heaven and Earth. Yang Xiaoshan killed my beloved disciple, so I will kill his master. Wu Dizhanshan sneered. One life for one life. Very fair. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 998. You must protect your young master. One life for one life. Hearing Wu Dizhanshan's words, all the masters around him were horrified. However, Zhang Yichao said with murderous intent, how can one life for one life be enough? Yang Xiaoshan killed so many disciples of my Wudi sect, but only killed his master. That's too easy for him. Wu Dizhanshan sneered. Of course one life is not enough. If Jiuo Yun dies, then the disciples of the Heaven and Earth Divine Mansion will be crushed to death by us. Thinking of the tragic death of his disciples, Li Hui said coldly, when Jiuo Yun dies, I will make Yang Xiaoshan suffer a fate worse than death. After Wu Dizhanshan and others left, the Battle of Xiandao Mountain continued. However, the subsequent Battle of Xiandao Mountain became a battle between disciples of the three domains. Later, no matter which domain or sect disciples met Yang Xiaoshan, they all admitted defeat directly. Even the disciples of the entire Chaos domain were killed by Yang Xiaoshan. Who dares to provoke Yang Xiaoshan? Even Han Xianrang of the Demon domain and Ji Yuirang of Hell later drew Yang Xiaoshan, and they shook their hands and admitted defeat directly. When the Son of Chaos met Yang Xiaoshan, he also admitted defeat. Not surprisingly, Yang Xiaoshan just stood on the stage, without having to do anything, and he sang all the way, killing into the top 10 and top 3. In the end, he won the first place. Seeing Yang Xiaoshan won the first place, everyone sighed. After Yang Xiaoshan and others received the reward, the Supreme Demon Ancestor came to the Lord of Heaven and Earth, before leaving and said, Brother Jiuo Yun has a good disciple. There was envy in his tone. The Lord of Heaven and Earth smiled and said, Brother Li Feng's disciples are not bad. The Supreme Demon Ancestor smiled, and then said to Yang Xiaoshan, I hope that Yang Xiaoyao can come to the demon realm in the future. If you come to the demon realm, Zifeng and the Supreme Demon Sect will definitely do their best to be the host and entertain Yang Xiaoyao well. The Supreme Demon Ancestor is such a person, the ruler of one side, the ruler of the Supreme Demon Sect, but now he invites Yang Xiaoshan, a god king. Thank you, senior. Yang Xiaoshan clasped his fists and said, I will definitely go to the demon realm, if I have the chance in the future. Okay. The Supreme Demon Ancestor laughed and seemed very happy. I will wait for you in the demon realm, when the time comes. Then he exchanged a few words with the Lord of Heaven and Earth, and led the Supreme Demon Sect's masters, to break through the air and leave. The Ghost Lord of Hell also brought a group of masters from the Ghost Gate of Hell to exchange a few words with the Lord of Heaven and Earth. Like the Supreme Demon Ancestor, he personally invited Yang Xiaoshan to visit Hell in the future. The Ghost Lord of Hell also led a group of masters to leave. Yang Xiaoshan looked at the figure of the Ghost Lord of Hell. He could feel the hostility and murderous intention of the Ghost Lord in his heart. Is it because of the Sword of Hell? The Sword of Hell is the sword of the Lord of Hell. It has extraordinary significance in Hell. It is normal for the Ghost Lord of Hell to have murderous intentions towards him. Afterwards, the Son of Chaos and the strong men from all sides of the Divine Realm also left one after another. Only the Divine Mansion of Heaven and Earth and the people of Kaishan Academy were left in Xiandao Mountain. The Lord of Heaven and Earth knew that Yang Xiaoshan would go to the top of Xiandao Mountain to practice for a year, so he and the people of Xiandi Shenfu stayed to protect Yang Xiaoshan. After all, no one knew whether the people from Wu Demon would return. The Lord of Heaven and Earth did not come to Kaishan Academy this time. It was the Dean Wei Sheng who came. Wei Sheng naturally led the people of Kaishan Academy to stay and protect Yang Xiaoshan. Under the protection of the Lord of Heaven and Earth and others, Yang Zai Ocean entered the top of Shyandao Mountain. The top of Shyandao Mountain has a strong spiritual energy, which is far from comparable to the Shyandao Cave. Yang Zai Ocean took a deep breath, and the spiritual energy of the heavenly Dao suddenly poured into his body, and the pores of his whole body opened wide, as if all his internal organs were washed. Yang Zai Ocean knew that time was running out, so he flew to the first sword formation. Soon, he came to the first sword formation, and then, under the protection of Uncle Ding, he came to the sword field space in the sword formation, sat down cross-legged, and began to comprehend the sword power of the sword field. Now, his sword domain has broken through to a minor success, and it has taken less than a month to fuse a sword domain. When he fuses 8 sword domains, there are still 4 or 5 months to consume the spiritual energy of the heavenly way on the top of the mountain. The Lord of Heaven and Earth stood in front of the mountaintop area, looking at Yang Zai Ocean, who entered the mountaintop area to practice, and there was always a sense of uneasiness in his heart. This uneasiness made the Lord of Heaven and Earth frown. He had gone through all kinds of disasters and achieved the realm of domination. Of course, he knew what this uneasiness meant. He had experienced this uneasiness before, but since he achieved the domination, this was the first time he had this uneasiness, and it was so strong. Is it because of the battle with the heaven-eating dragon? He was sure about the battle with the heaven-eating dragon in a year, but now this uneasiness is so strong. The Lord of Heaven and Earth thought of the world confusion demon behind the heaven-eating dragon, and his heart sank. This battle was probably the most difficult battle in his life. The founder of Taekso Sword Sect saw the uneasiness in the heart of the Lord of Heaven and Earth, and couldn't help asking, "Your Majesty, are you worried about the battle with the sky-eating dragon?" The Lord of Heaven and Earth nodded, and said in a deep voice, "In this battle, I'm afraid that I may die." What? The founders of Taekso Sword Sect, Black Phoenix and other founders all changed their faces when they heard it. Wei Sheng of Kaishan Academy was also shocked. The Lord of Heaven and Earth has extraordinary significance not only to the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth, but also to the entire Divine Realm. If the Lord of Heaven and Earth dies, not only will the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth collapse, but the entire Divine Realm will be in turmoil. Your Majesty, the founder of Taekso Sword Sect was about to speak, but the Lord of Heaven and Earth shook his head. "If I die, then you must protect your young master, wait for him to become the Supreme, and let him take charge of the Divine Palace of Heaven and Earth." Everyone's heart sank. Is this the last request of the Lord of Heaven and Earth to everyone? The Lord of Heaven and Earth looked at the top of Shyandao Mountain, and said with relief, "I really want to see the moment when this little guy becomes the Supreme, but unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't see it." With Yang Zai Ocean's current terrifying combat power, if he becomes the Supreme, how strong will he be? By then, he will be able to sweep across the Divine Realm. By then, there will be no rivals in the Four Realms. The ancestor of Taekso Sword Gate was in a heavy mood and said, "Your Majesty, don't worry, we will protect the young master. Even if I risk my life, I will protect the young master." Having reached the realm of the Lord of Heaven and Earth, he knew that his premonitions would generally be very accurate. Since the Lord of Heaven and Earth said that he might die at that time, he might really die. Wei Sheng stepped forward and said in a heavy voice, "Your Majesty, our Lord will join hands with you at that time, and we will definitely be able to survive this disaster." The Lord of Heaven and Earth shook his head. Liang Li, if the Lord of Destiny was there, they could still deal with the Devil of Chaos together, but Liang Li, the Lord of Destiny, was not there. Time passed. Yang Zai Ocean continued to comprehend and integrate the sword realms at the top of Shyandao Mountain, entering a state of ecstasy. 7 months later, he finally completely integrated all the sword realms, and his Heaven and Earth, infinite sword realms all broke through to the state of great success. After integrating all the sword realms on the top of the mountain, he began to practice several major skills of chaos swallowing heaven, and began to fully devour the heavenly spiritual energy on the top of the mountain. Chapter 999, The Battle Between the Lord of Heaven and Earth and the God of Food. As Yang Zai Ocean's 4 major skills were running, the spiritual energy of the heavenly Dao roared, and continued to flow into his body. Soon, a vortex of the spiritual energy of the heavenly Dao formed around his body, and the spiritual energy vortex continued to grow at an astonishing speed. Yang Zai Ocean was wrapped in the vortex of the spiritual energy of the heavenly Dao, and his figure gradually disappeared in the vortex of the spiritual energy. More than 3 months passed. Yang Zai Ocean saw that the time was almost up and had to stop. Although he had swallowed it with all his strength for several months, the spiritual energy of the heavenly Dao on the top of the Dao mountain was too rich after countless years of accumulation, and he could not swallow even 1/10,000th of it. Yang Zai Ocean looked at the strong spiritual energy of the heavenly Dao on the top of the mountain and asked Master Ding if there was any way for him to continue to stay on the top of the Dao mountain to practice. Uncle Ding shook his head. When the time comes, Dao mountain will flee far away, and the forbidden power of Dao mountain will cover every inch of space in Dao mountain. No one can stay in Dao mountain at all. Unless... Yang Zai Ocean asked when he heard it. Unless what? Unless you prove the truth. Uncle Ding said, if you prove the truth, you will have a chance to stay in Dao mountain. Yang Zai Ocean's thoughts were extinguished immediately. He could only get up and leave the mountaintop area. However, when he came out of the mountaintop area, he did not see his master, the Lord of Heaven and Earth, but only the founder of Taixun Sword Sect and Wei Sheng from Kaishan Academy. Yang Zai Ocean asked them and learned that the Lord of Burial Gods led the living dead to attack the prehistoric continent fiercely. The situation in the prehistoric continent was critical, so his master led the people of the Heaven and Earth Divine Mansion to rush back to the prehistoric continent first. Yang Zai Ocean heard this and couldn't help wondering, why did the Lord of Burial Gods suddenly attack the prehistoric continent again? Did something happen? Knowing the changes in the prehistoric continent, Yang Zai Ocean did not stay for a moment and drove the Hanhei boat with everyone to leave Dao mountain. They had just passed through the airflow layer and left not far away and saw a loud bang behind them. Dao mountain turned into a stream of light and broke through the air in the violent vibration of the surrounding airflow. It disappeared in the vast space of the starfield in the blink of an eye. Looking at the disappearing Dao mountain, Yang Zai Ocean retracted his eyes and then continued to drive the spaceship back to the prehistoric continent with everyone. 30,000 years later, after the battle of Dao mountain, he will climb Dao mountain again. By then, he will stay on the top of Dao mountain and completely devour the Dao spiritual energy of the entire Dao mountain. Although the battle of Dao mountain has ended, Yang Zai Ocean did not relax, but continued to swallow the divine fruit in the secret room to practice. He is not just for the next time to conquer Dao mountain, the great artifact. While swallowing the divine fruit to cultivate, Yang Zai Ocean also took the time to swallow the dragon essence of the dragon pearl of the beginning dragon, striving to break through the Tegu Shilingju to the 19th level. Now, his Tegu Shilingju has reached the late 18th level, not far from the 19th level. The ship of the vast sea kept flying towards the prehistoric continent. The founder of Taixun Sword Gate looked at the direction of the prehistoric continent, but he was anxious, because now the battle between their majesty and the founder of the god of food is getting closer. I don't know how their majesty is preparing. Thinking of what their majesty had told him before, the founder of Taixun Sword Gate felt depressed. However, just when Yang Zai Ocean and others were about to return to the prehistoric continent, news came from the prehistoric continent that the army of the living dead suddenly withdrew. Withdrawn? Yang Zai Ocean was very surprised. The founder of Taixun Sword Gate was also puzzled. The army of the living dead launched a fierce attack on the prehistoric continent these days, and now it suddenly withdrew. He always felt that something was wrong. Thinking of the sudden escape of the Lord of the Buried God, the ancestor of Taixun Sword Gate felt more and more uneasy. Could it be? Master Xiaofu, let's speed up again. Taixun Sword Sect's founder said to Yang Zai Ocean. Yang Zai Ocean was puzzled when he saw Taixun Sword Sect's founder's anxious look, but he and everyone else tried their best to drive the spaceship and speed it up again. Taixun Sword Sect's founder saw Yang Zai Ocean's doubts and expressed his concerns. Hearing that Taixun Sword Sect's founder was worried that the Lord of Burial God would harm his master, Yang Zai Ocean's face changed. Then, Taixun Sword Sect's founder talked about the uneasiness of the Lord of Heaven and Earth when he was in Dao mountain before. Yang Zai Ocean's heart sank when he heard this. Uncle Ding, is there any way to speed up again? Yang Zai Ocean asked Uncle Ding. Uncle Ding shook his head. Unless you have a top grade chaos spirit stone. Then he said, otherwise, you can only use the space-time talisman. Space-time talisman. Yang Xiaoshan immediately took out all the space-time talismans on his body and kept blessing them on the vast sea boat. However, Yang Xiaoshan still thought it was too slow. While the space-time talisman was blessing him, he took out the materials and re-refined the space-time talisman. Now that he had improved his cultivation, the space-time talisman he had refined again would be more powerful. Sure enough, when the space-time talisman that Yang Xiaoshan had re-refined was used on the vast sea boat, the vast sea boat would be a little faster. As Yang Xiaoshan continued to refine the space-time talisman, finally, the primordial continent was in sight. Back in the primordial continent, Yang Xiaoshan continued to bless the vast sea boat and kept rushing back to the divine palace of heaven and earth. When he passed some cities, he saw that the cities were full of ruins, which were obviously the damage caused by the previous invasion of the Living Dead army. Although the Living Dead army had retreated, many empires were still under martial law. However, when Yang Xiaoshan returned to the divine palace of heaven and earth, he was told that his master, the Lord of Heaven and Earth, and his senior brother Zaoming, and others had already gone to Duanshan Peak. Duanshan Peak was the place where his master and the ancestor of the god of food had an appointment to fight. Why did my master go there so early? Yang Xiaoshan was puzzled. At this time, there were still 10 days before his master's scheduled battle date. Normally, he would not go to Duanshan Peak so soon. Elder Zhang he said, Shixianlong has come out of retreat. He has reissued the challenge and moved the scheduled battle date forward by 10 days. His Majesty has agreed. What? 10 days earlier? Yang Xiaoshan's face changed drastically. 10 days earlier, doesn't that mean that today is a day when his master and Shixianlong will fight? Let's go. To Duanshan Peak. Yang Xiaoshan roared, soaring into the sky, driving the Hanhei boat and the Taixu and Sword Sex ancestor to Duanshan Peak at a high speed. Although Duanshan Peak is not far from the Heaven and Earth Divine Mansion, it is not close either. Even if Yang Xiaoshan keeps using the space-time divine talisman to bless the Hanhei boat, it will take about an hour to reach Duanshan Peak. Duanshan Peak, Duanshan Peak. Yang Xiaoshan drove the Hanhei boat with all his strength, constantly chanting Duanshan Peak. Just as Yang Xiaoshan kept rushing to Duanshan Peak was already crowded with people. The Lord of Heaven and Earth and the God of Food ancestor suddenly moved up the date of the battle, catching many people off guard, but many powerful people from various sects still came to Duanshan Peak to watch this shocking battle. At this time, the Lord of Heaven and Earth and the God of Food ancestor were standing on Duanshan Peak respectively. Jiuo Yun, hey, long time no see. The God of Food ancestor Shixianlong stared at Yang Xiaoshan with green eyes. I wonder if you still remember that you hurt me here. Of course I remember. The Lord of Heaven and Earth looked at Shixianlong. In order to save you, several ancient ancestors of your God of Food clan were all killed by me here. Chapter 1000. Sky-eating dragon breaks through the domination. Hearing the Lord of Heaven and Earth mention the several ancient ancestors of the God of Food who were killed, the God of Food's ancestor, Xianlong Shi, had murderous intent in his eyes and smiled fiercely. Jiuo Yun, have you ever thought that one day, you will also be killed here? As Xianlong Shi said this, the faces of the powerful people watching the battle changed, and there was a strong commotion. Zaoming and the masters of the divine palace of heaven and earth all glared at Xianlong Shi. The Lord of Heaven and Earth heard this and smiled. Kill me. You. Xianlong Shi's eyes glowed green. Me. At this point, he no longer concealed his aura, and his whole body aura was completely released. A shocking aura swept across the world. Even many sect masters who were already standing far away were choking. Lord. Feeling Xianlong Shi's surging and invincible aura, the faces of the powerful people from all sides changed drastically. Zaoming, the divine palace of heaven and earth, and the powerful people of Kaishan Academy also changed their faces. Xianlong Shi actually took the last step and achieved the realm of domination. The strong men of the God Eater clan, Silver Sky Blood Demon clan, Hell Demon clan, and God Shadow clan were greatly encouraged. The ancestor is invincible. The chief of the God Eater clan shouted. At this moment, the devil energy of the Sky Eater dragon was endless. These devil energy were not black, but dark green, purple, black, blood red and other colors. The world confused magic skill. Seeing the devil energy of the Sky Eater dragon, an old ancestor exclaimed. The World Confused Magic Skill, also known as the World Confused Magic Skill, is one of the strongest magic skills in the God realm. The World Confused Magic Skill is cultivated by the 17 most powerful devil energy in the world. Each kind of devil energy can be invincible in the same realm. The World Confused devil energy instantly spread around the Sky Eater dragon's body into a sea of magic. The devil energy in the sea of magic is like boiling water, constantly emitting magic bubbles. The magic bubbles are filled with the energy of the mixed origin. Seeing these magic bubbles, everyone retreated in fear, fearing that they could not avoid them. The mixed magic skill, the mixed magic energy. This is the mixed energy. The Black Phoenix ancestor of the Heaven and Earth Divine Mansion was shocked. Xiaoming and others all had gloomy faces. What everyone feared most was that the mixed magic skill of the Heaven-Eating Dragon would be cultivated to the mixed state. Once cultivated to the mixed state and condensed into the mixed magic energy, the strength of the Heaven-Eating Dragon would surge. Xiaoming could not help but worry. The Heaven-Eating Dragon not only broke through the realm of the master, but also cultivated the mixed magic skill to the mixed energy. His strength was far beyond that of the past. His master was afraid that it would not be so easy to defeat the Heaven-Eating Dragon. The devil swallows the world. At this moment, the Heaven-Eating Dragon shouted loudly, and the blood in his body surged, condensing into a huge and terrifying blood beast. It suddenly opened its mouth and devoured the Lord of Heaven and Earth. This is the devouring blood of its god-eating clan. The airflow in the space suddenly whistled. I saw that the airflow whistled and formed a terrifying vortex, which enveloped the Lord of Heaven and Earth, and wanted to swallow the Lord of Heaven and Earth directly. Looking at the terrifying vortex that was enveloping him, the Lord of Heaven and Earth snorted coldly, and his whole body shook, shattering the terrifying vortex. Then, the light of time rolled, and the god of time condensed, and stood between heaven and earth. As the eternal divine body of the Lord of Heaven and Earth operated, all of the attacks of the Sky-Eating Dragon were corroded by the power of time. This is the tyranny of the eternal divine body. The Lord of Heaven and Earth stood in heaven and earth, and suddenly slapped the Sky-Eating Dragon with a palm, and his voice resounded through heaven and earth. Sky-Eating Dragon, do you really think that you can challenge me after breaking through the realm of domination? Back then, I was here to kill the ancient ancestor of your god-eating clan. Today, I will be here to kill you. The power of time condensed into a giant palm that covered the sky, and slapped it to the top of the Sky-Eating Dragon's head. The Sky-Eating Dragon felt the power of this palm, and his face changed. The Lord of Heaven and Earth was so much stronger than before. Obviously, the Lord of Heaven and Earth had also broken through. The whole body of the Sky-Eating Dragon was condensed with mixed primordial demonic energy, and suddenly punched the palm of time. There was a loud noise that shook the sky. Everything around was destroyed by the power of the two. Affected by the destructive power of the two, even the space was shattered, forming a huge black hole in space. The space vibrated and continued to spread to the surrounding heaven and earth. The strong men standing far away watched the scene of the collapse of the world and retreated in fear. In the collision of the two forces, the Sky-Eating Dragon felt a huge force coming, and he retreated again and again, retreating dozens of miles. Seeing this, the masters of the God-Eating clan, who had originally shouted that the Sky-Eating Dragon was invincible, immediately stopped. The Lord of Heaven and Earth had cold eyes and slapped the Sky-Eating Dragon again. The Sky-Eating Dragon's whole body was surging with light, and an avatar that was exactly the same as it flew out of its body. It was the God-Eating Dragon's God-Eating Dragon. The Sky-Eating Dragon and its God-Eating Dragon attacked at the same time, and faced the Lord of Heaven and Earth. As the Lord of Heaven and Earth and the Sky-Eating Dragon fought, the destructive power shook the world. Even Yang Xiaoshan, the founder of Taixuan Sword Sect, and others who were rushing over felt this earth-shaking destructive power. Your Majesty is fighting with the Sky-Eating Dragon. The founder of Taixuan Sword Sect said in a deep voice. Seeing this, Yang Xiaoshan became even more anxious, and kept blessing the vast sea boat with the time and space talisman, and rushed to the broken sky peak at a high speed. In the blink of an eye, the Sky-Eating Dragon and the Lord of Heaven and Earth had exchanged more than 10 moves. Although the Sky-Eating Dragon had already broken through the realm of the Lord, it was just a breakthrough after all. Even with the mixed magic skills of the Hunyuan realm, it was still no match for the Lord of Heaven and Earth. He was forced to retreat again and again by the Lord of Heaven and Earth, and was completely at a disadvantage. If this continues, the Sky-Eating Dragon will be defeated within 30 moves. Seeing that the Sky-Eating Dragon was already in a state of defeat, suddenly, in the void, a black palm suddenly appeared on the back of the Lord of Heaven and Earth. The black palm was so fast that no one could react at all. The river of time around the Lord of Heaven and Earth was actually blasted through directly. Seeing that the black palm was about to hit the back of the Lord of Heaven and Earth, the Lord of Heaven and Earth suddenly turned around and greeted the black palm with the palm. "Hunshy, you finally came out." The palms of the two collided. The Lord of Heaven and Earth was shocked and retreated several miles. In the void, a tall figure with demonic energy appeared. His face could not be seen clearly. It was the Demon of Chaos. Seeing the Demon of Chaos appear, everyone's face changed. The Demon of Chaos smiled and said, "Jiuo Yun, you, Liang Li, and the three of fate joined forces to kill me. Today, I will make you pay 100 times with blood. When the time comes, not only you will die, but everyone present in the Heaven and Earth Divine Mansion today will die." Then, boundless demonic energy rolled, and suddenly punched the Lord of Heaven and Earth to kill. Seeing this, the Lord of Creation was about to step forward to help the Lord of Heaven and Earth, but the Heaven-Eating Dragon forced the Lord of Creation back with a punch. "ZHUMO, your opponent is me." Afterwards, all the masters of the God-Eating Clan and the Silver Sky Blood Demon Clan also attacked the masters of the Heaven and Earth Divine Palace, the Heaven Earning Academy, and the Eternal Divine Kingdom. The sound of killing shook the sky. When the Lord of Heaven and Earth was fighting with the Devil of Chaos, suddenly, the void split open, and a hand made entirely of death slapped the Lord of Heaven and Earth on the head. The death energy rolled and covered the sky, and its power was even stronger than that of the Devil of Chaos, Lord of the Burial God. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.